I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T, F, face drooping, A, arm weakness, or S, speech difficulty, then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds. And most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals. But I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Terry Crews. Actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve. It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
The Lakers are targeting UConn head coach Danny Hurley as their next head coach. Stephen A. Smith says that Kyrie Irving is the only championship caliber player in the NBA Finals. And Chennedy Carter says some of her teammates were harassed after Caitlin Clark incident. And much, much more on a new show of the Sports Loudmouth. Doc Rivers is going to have Damian Lillard run very fast out of town. Does he help them win? You're under 500. Aaron Judge helps the Yankees win. You're paying the player $300 million. You better be sure that that guy's going to help you get over the hump. For some reason, this guy is completely lost on calling plays. Maybe he's a therapist. Did you see Lamar Jackson cry to the rest? No, he didn't. We are back for a new show of the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Daryl Marks, my co-host, Mr. White Hat himself, Speedy Petey. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey every single Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Our number to call, if you want to call all you Jeffs out there, all you have to do is call us at 631-672-3108. That is the number to call. And boy, oh boy, it is humid out. The rain is pouring. I don't understand this weather. I say this all the time when we come into the show. And by the way, it's so hot right now. Our studio window is open right now. And I'm going to say this right now. I don't even have my socks on right now. My socks are on the studio desk. And it's clean, guys. I'm smelling it. I'm shaking it right now. It's like my Grogger. And you've gone to a Jewish a Jewish event, and they've had, definitely for Purim. You know what Purim is?
No.
It's like Halloween for Jews. And what they have is they have these groggers, and they spin them around and they make these weird sounds. And if you ever go to a soccer game, they have those horns.
Yeah.
They have all these different things. Well, that's what I have on my desk right now. It doesn't make any sounds tonight, but by the end of the show, it might. It might be hard because I might be using it as a tissue. Anyways, oh man, it's been a long day. I don't know. I'm losing my mind tonight. I'm losing my mind tonight. But there's a lot to get into tonight. But before we get into that, Speedy, how are you?
Good. My grandmother luckily was able to come back overnight on Tuesday, so she's doing much better now. Still having trouble walking, but good to see her back in the house too. So I'm doing a lot better.
You're going to teach her how to dance?
Well, maybe.
Well, how about the Rockette kicks?
No, she couldn't do that.
Well, you got to teach her.
No,
you
no,
gotta,
she has bad arthritis in her legs. She's
well, then you're going to have to teach her some aerobic classes.
She has done those in the past.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Who did she watch on TV?
No, it was done in a pool.
Oh, so she
done...
hangs out in a pool?
No, she used to.
All
not
right.
now.
All right, I'm just asking. I mean, you look like a person that would probably hang out in the pool with your grandmother.
No.
Well, I'm just asking. All right, so she's doing good.
She's
doing good.
Better, yes.
How about everybody else in your family? They're doing well?
Yeah, they've just been busy. End of the year for my cousins who are finishing up their school year. Two of my cousins are actually graduating this year, and in about a couple of weeks. And for my family, they're always busy. Aiden's home right now, but everyone else is busy.
Who's taking sexual education?
I have no clue.
You
don't know their classes.
I mean, what is their major?
I don't know their classes.
I thought you told me one of them takes sex ed. No. So that's not true?
That's not true.
So why did you tell me that?
You heard a rumor, I guess.
I heard a rumor. Oh, man, I'm hearing a lot of rumors from you, Speedy. I don't know. You've been telling me a lot of different stories.
Maybe Josh is telling you that, and it sounds like me. So
it's Rumorville for
yeah,
Josh? We should have Josh's Rumorville every single Tuesday. What do you think about that? That would be a good segment.
Ask Josh.
All right. Why don't you ask Josh? You talk to Josh more than I do. I'm just asking you. You talk to Josh more than I do.
For both.
It's good for both of us. I mean, it's good.
Yeah,
for you.
good for you.
Good for you. Good for me.
Good for you and Josh.
Well,
good for both of you.
Us. Well,
good for both of you.
It's good for both of us.
Good for both of you.
At 8:00, we'll be talking to FanSided Director of Content, Josh Hill, tonight. He will be our only guest, but we have a lot of content tonight, and we have Let's Parlay a little bit later in the show with Reno, Johnny, and Chaz at 9:30.
Wes also texted some CFL picks, so I will get out.
There you go. Wes is busy right now.
Yes,
he's very, very busy. He's the new corporate chef over there in Kansas City. Congratulations to our friend Wes. He's doing big things over there in KC at Six Flags. So he's doing his thing. The Lakers are targeting UConn head coach Danny Hurley as their next head coach. Stephen A. Smith says that Kyrie Irving is the only championship caliber player in the NBA Finals. Very interesting story. We'll get into that. Chennedy Carter says some of her teammates are harassed after the Caitlin Clark incident. I'm not surprised. We will get into that. That's going to be a great story. UConn head coach Gino Auriemma and Fox Sports host Joy Taylor commented about Caitlin Clark. So very interesting. We will get into what Gino Auriemma says. And if you don't know who Gino is, he is the head coach of the UConn Huskies. Women basketball team and world-class women's basketball team. Micah Parsons says he wants to be the highest-paid non-quarterback in the NFL. And also, if the Cowboys let him go, he wants to be with the Steelers. Very interesting. Why does he want to be a Steeler? I have no idea.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with it. Is he a Steeler fan? I don't think he's a Steeler
I'm
fan.
not sure, but he's definitely not an Eagles fan after playing for the Cowboys.
Well, that's true. Zack Martin says that this season could be his last in the NFL. One of the great guards in the NFL and one of the best in the last 15 years. So he might be calling it quits at the end of the season. Colts center Ryan Kelly says the idea of 18 games is ridiculous. So we will get it. That's a very good story. We'll definitely get into that story. It's fantastic. And again, let's parlay. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Oh man, Woj reports that the Lakers are targeting UConn head coach Danny Hurley as their next head coach. The Lakers are going to give him a massive long-term contract to steal him from the Yukon Huskies. The Lakers tried a similar move 20 years ago, trying to sign Coach K to a record-breaking contract, but he stayed with Duke. The LeBrons, yes, I call them LeBrons, said on social media post that on his podcast with JJ Redick that he is so damn good. Redick was previously thought of a massive favorite for the job because of his relationship with LeBron. Hurley is 141-58 in 6 seasons with UConn and won back-to-back national championships. Oh, he's got 2 rings, baby. And he might be bringing both those rings back to Laker Town. This is very Laker-esque. It is very Laker-esque. They're looking for the top coach available. And obviously, a guy like Danny Hurley, and everybody knows what I feel about the Hurley family. I think they're great coaches, from Bobby to Danny to his father. Two fantastic coaches and 2 fantastic players when they play college basketball. And they know the game very, very well. But the NBA is different. The NBA, you have the best of the best players. You're not teaching boys, you're teaching men. And are these men, LeBron James, and right now, as we hear, Anthony Davis could be on the move, but if he's not, Anthony Davis, are they going to listen to Danny Hurley? Now, we all know his personality. He's very outspoken. He likes to talk to players in many different ways on the basketball court, as he came out and said that after UConn won their 2nd championship against Purdue. And we know the type of coach he always likes to present himself to be. But will that work in the NBA? Will that work in a game where you have players that are making millions and millions of dollars that think not for the team, but for themselves? Now, college basketball is a team game. It is a team game. If you're going to win a national championship, you got to win like a team. Not one player wins championships. Go look at all the national championships that have won, championship teams that have won in the last 5 years. They're good teams. Not one good player. They're always, every single one of those teams have a great player, but it's not, the offense is not run all through him. You need an all-around team to win a championship, to win a national championship. And the coaches have a lot to do with those national championships. In the NBA, you don't need a great coach to win a championship. You need 2 great players and a very good bench. That's the way to win a championship. And the NBA is more of a 3-point game. Now, everybody's going to say that college basketball is trending that way. It's not. College basketball, if your big man is the best player, they're running their offense through the big man. As we watch Purdue play this year, is their big man a great shooter? No. He gets into the paint, and he dominated into the paint because of his size. There are guys in the NBA right now, like Wembanyama. This guy is as big as anybody, any athletic player we've seen come into the NBA in the last 40 years. And I'm going to tell you this. An outspoken coach like Danny Hurley with a veteran team like this, is it going to work? Now, if you remember Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, before Phil Jackson came, it didn't work. It didn't work because you have too many personalities. When Phil Jackson came in, it changed everything. He brought the team together. He ran the triangle through the big man, the first 2 championships, and then it transitioned through Kobe Bryant. Bobby Hurley is a different personality. Now, if you look at Phil Jackson, he was a player's coach. He's a guy that wasn't really outspoken. As a matter of fact, if you watch The Last Dance, a lot of those guys, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, even Dennis Rodman, they loved him. Why? Because he was like a father figure. Danny Hurley is not that type of coach. Danny Hurley, like I said, speaks the way he wants to speak, feels the way he wants to feel, does what he wants to do. Does that work in the NBA? Well, let's go to coaches that have come from college that have not worked. And there are many different guys we can go into that we can point fingers at and say, hey, it just doesn't work. Speedy, you know one coach, and we speak very highly of him, and the Chicago Bulls have him right now. You know what I'm talking about, right? Billy Donovan. Where's he from, Speedy?
Florida.
But where's he from? Long Island.
Long Island originally.
He's from Long Island, okay? He came into the NBA. Everybody thought a two-time world champion, college champion, Billy Donovan. He is going to take this Chicago Bulls to higher heights. He also was there before he was with the Chicago Bulls. He was with Oklahoma. It didn't work over there. That was a veteran team that it just didn't work with Russell Westbrook and those type of players. It just didn't work over there. So he decided to step away. He wanted to go to a younger team. He went to the Chicago Bulls. They were a fairly young team. He took over a team that had, good players, but not superstar players. And he thought by implementing his style of game, it was going to work. It hasn't worked. Then you bring in veteran guys like DeRozan, who he's never won a championship, but has been a fairly good player in the NBA that can run his style of defense. And Billy Donovan loves to play that top of the key type of pressure defense. It has not worked in the NBA. How long is it going to be with the Chicago Bulls when the Chicago Bulls decide that Billy Donovan isn't the answer? That's just one. There are many college coaches that came to the NBA and have not succeeded. There are some that have, but most have not.
I think OKC's current coach was on the UConn staff with Kevin Ollie, too, before he became the Thunder head coach in 2021.
That's right. It doesn't always fit. The college game doesn't fit in the NBA. We've seen great college players over the years, top draft picks, top 8 picks. We know a bunch of them came from the Knicks. They are not successful in the NBA because it doesn't transition in the NBA. You have to be athletic. You have to be able to shoot now. And you're going to have to be able to shoot free throws, which a lot of these college players don't know how to do when they come to the NBA. It's been a big problem. If you go look at the last 3 years of some of the top guards that have come from college basketball into the NBA, they're not very good free throw shooters. They're not. And that's a different transition. When you're coming from college basketball to the NBA, sometimes it doesn't transition. It doesn't work. And then we see guys that weren't such great offensive players in college basketball. They were better defensive players. And we all know Donovan Mitchell wasn't a great offensive player in college basketball. When he came and he was drafted by Utah, he was a different player.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, too.
Yes. He was a different player. His game transitioned in the NBA. The style of game, the athletic part of the game, because you need that athleticism to succeed in the NBA. Now, coaches can help players develop that skill. Is Danny Hurley the guy to develop skills from a bunch of veteran players? I don't know. And Danny Hurley fits better going to an organization as a bunch of young players. Right. If he thought, hey, you know what, Charlotte's offering me a job, offer me a must-sign contract where I'm getting $15, $16 million a year, then I would leave UConn to go and coach Charlotte. You have LaMelo Ball. You have a bunch of young players over there, and you're going to have top-end draft picks for the next 3 years because you're going to suck. You're going to a team that's expected to win tomorrow with LeBron James, who won $60 million a year. 60. Anthony Davis, you don't know if you want to keep him or you want to throw him out to the dogs. Who's your other guy? You have a point guard that can't shut his mouth on and off the court, gets himself into trouble, probably won't be there next year. You have some young players, some of them that you probably wouldn't start or you wouldn't even put as your 6th or 7th man on another roster. If the Pelicans had a job open, I would take that job. I am going to go, if I'm Danny Hurley, I want to go to a team that I can help build up to a championship contender.
What about Cleveland?
Cleveland's another team. Yeah. If Cleveland's interested in bringing me in, I definitely look at Jared Allen. I mean, he's a young player. Karis LeVert, another young player. Donovan Mitchell, still fairly young in the prime of his career. He's got people. Mobley is a young player, up and coming, looks like a great defender, one of the better defenders, perimeter defenders, and inside defenders in the NBA. I mean, you have pieces you can help build. Over there with the Lakers, what do you have? You have LeBron James who wants his son being drafted in the first round so he could play with him for his last 2 years, 3 years of his career. Do you want to coach LeBron James? Could you go to the Lakers when there's so much expectations? You have all these movie stars. You have all these musicians. You have all these athletes that are not playing their respectable sports coming to watch you play and coach. Are you going to take the pressure? When you're coaching with UConn, the cameras are on you, but it's really about the school. It's really about the program. It's not about fully you. When you go over there and you're getting 15, 16 million a year, all the pressure is on you. So I sit here today. If I was Danny Hurley, would I take this job? And the answer is no, I would not take this job. This, out of all the jobs that would be offered to me in the very near future, out of all the teams that could be offered in the next 2 or 3 years, this is the team and this is the program, or this is the organization I do not want to coach.
Yeah, and you also look at the money value that the Lakers could present. It's probably going to have to be a really big amount for them to try to lure Danny Hurley away from UConn. Because remember when we were talking about when John Calipari got bought out by Kentucky, then going to Arkansas, Dan Hurley was the favorite to get that job, and he turned it down. Like that kind of thing in the SEC too. Like if Kentucky poached an SEC coach, maybe that vacancy would have been open. They would have offered a lot of money. So I think whatever offer was going to come in had to be a monumental thing, like Fish was showing in the graphic before. Like they turned down the one from Coach K years ago. So I think the Lakers would try that kind of thing. But I agree with you. I don't think that's the right type of team for him because you don't know if LeBron's going to stay there. And
you don't know if Anthony Davis. Now, I see Keith saying, of course, they're going to keep Anthony Davis. I don't know, Keith, if you're reading rumors right now, he wants to go home.
Yeah.
He wants to go to Chicago. And the story is that the Chicago Bulls would probably send Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and 2 first-round draft picks and maybe a future consideration first-round draft pick for Anthony Davis. Just Anthony Davis. And I don't know what you're watching, Keith. Of course you're going to keep him. Right now, if he's high and he had a good season, you sell him when he's high. You do not sell him when he's low.
And both teams right now are kind of stuck in mediocrity. I know the Lakers just went to the Western Conference Finals last year, but they were still a 7 seed with not a lot of upside. The Bulls have been stuck in mediocrity for a while. They had the one year where they almost beat the Bucks in the playoffs, and that was really it with this core that they have since Billy Donovan came there. So I could definitely see that kind of trade happening, especially like you were saying. LaVine wants to be a Laker, and Anthony Davis wants to be a Bull. That kind of thing makes sense. But going back to Hurley, yeah, I think a younger team would be perfect for that kind of thing because LeBron and Anthony Davis are going to be commanding as to whatever coach comes into this team. That's why they've had so much recycling of all these head coaches since they've gotten there. I think Danny Hurley is just much better of a program builder than what he is with taking over a team like the Lakers. I agree with you. Like a Cleveland Cavaliers team would be a perfect young fit. If the Pistons buy out Monty Williams because of his massive contract and he sucked, the team sucked last year, maybe that's a spot that he goes to because they could draft one of his players. Donovan Clingan and Stephon Castle probably could both be top 10 picks. So
if LeBron wants him, LeBron will get him.
Oh, of course.
And if they're willing to give him that unbelievable contract worth about 15, 16 million, he'd leave. He'd absolutely leave. And I don't care, Keith, if LeBron wants Anthony Davis. That don't mean anything. He can't win with Anthony Davis. The last time they won a championship with him and Anthony Davis was in a bubble. Right. It was a short season. In a full season, this team has not played well. They finished 10th and 9th. Right. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. So why would you? And you can't bring in another player. If you're going to pay LeBron James $60 million a year, and you're going to bring Bronny in, or whoever you decide to draft in the mid to teens draft. I don't know where they're drafting, but it's probably at the 19, 20, somewhere around there. If LeBron, where are you getting that other player that's going to help you get over the hump? Because you don't have anything. Your roster is at best mediocre. You don't have a top team. And Anthony Davis is a good player. LeBron James is a good player. But nobody else over there is really a player that I'm going to say, hey, I could build a team around when LeBron James wants to step away. Or I could build a team around if we trade Anthony Davis. They don't have. Reeves is a good player, but Reeves is not a player that you can see to be a superstar. He is a guy that could be a 6th man of the year. Maybe a starter that's going to give you 15 to 17 points a game. He is not the type of player where you can build your team around when these two players step down and you trade them. So I disagree, Keith. And what is he saying right over here? They said the Lakers would take Bronny at 55.
Oh, sure. Of course they would. But
I think a lot of teams will take Bronny at 55. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Bronny's going to get drafted at the end of the first round. So if the Lakers are going to wait until the second round to get him, and yes, Russell is inconsistent, and Russell has a big mouth. Okay?
Russell's usually good like the first year of that
But
team.
nobody's going to want Russell.
No.
His contract is very, very high. And even if you do trade him away, you're not going to get a good player for a guy like Russell because Russell has been a problem on and off the court. And his game has whittled. He's not the same player he was when he was playing for the two other franchises that he was playing for before the Lakers, before he was traded to the Lakers.
Yeah, I think most likely for that kind of trade, it probably would be just a swap of bad contracts, and maybe the Lakers would just get a different type of player that maybe is a shooter or something like that.
Keith, you could say nobody's going to take Bronny. If you watched his combine and his athleticism, people are looking at that right now, and they're going to say, you know what? Let's take Bronny at 30. Let's take Bronny at 29. He doesn't have to start this year. Let's build him up. Let's use his strengths and build from his weaknesses. He's got his father's background. He's got his father's athleticism. Maybe we could turn him into something. And I'm going to tell you this right now. He's going to get drafted at the end of the first round. He is going to get drafted at the end of the first round. You say no way, but boy, oh boy, I can't wait to see your face when he does. He was exceptional at the combine, but everybody that I've heard interviewed him at the combine said he's a smart player and he's a guy that you can build in the future to be your starting point guard in the future. It's going to take a little while, but he's what do they call that?
A project.
A project, and it's worth taking a project at number 28, 29, or 30 because those players usually turn into nothing anyways.
Right. And also going back to Danny Hurley too, like I think in terms of his value as an NBA coach to a lot of teams, he would be actually a really good coach because UConn is a very team-oriented offense. It's not reliant on like 5-star recruits all the time and flashy players and that kind of stuff. Like John Calipari, we were talking about it, would he go to the NBA and be able to succeed? I don't know if it's that same kind of thing.
He was another one that failed.
Right. I don't think it would because I think his ego would get in the way. And it's the same reason we were talking about it with the NFL and college football. Nick Saban's ego got in the way in the NFL.
But I don't think Danny Hurley's style is an NBA style. It really isn't. Coach Calipari, his style is an NBA style. That's why that's why he went to Kentucky, and that's why a lot of these guys wanted to go and play for him because they believe that if they went to play for Calipari, he can help them transition into the NBA style of game, which he did for a lot of players. He did it for Anthony Davis. He did it for John Wall. He did it for Booker. He did it for Shai. He did it for a lot of guys. If you look at all the players that weren't as great of players playing college ball, he transitioned them. He helped their games transition in the NBA style. So Calipari, to me, wasn't a good NBA coach, but he's a guy that we've seen coach good players that came from college to the NBA. Danny Hurley, go look at the players that played for Danny Hurley over the last 6 years. How many of them became stars in the NBA?
None yet. But the only reason I say that is because of the concepts that he brings. I think the UConn's built a very well-rounded team. So a younger team, yeah, I think that kind of thing is going to apply well to guys that are going to buy in, guys that don't have these massive egos. I don't think it would work with the Lakers at all because I think LeBron will get too much in the way. But like you said, a younger team that might need that kind of team-building type guy, I think makes a lot of sense. Keith says Hurley is a college-style coach. His goal is to coach in the NBA someday, and I do think it'll happen.
Someday. It could be now. It could be a rush job.
Yeah.
And he goes to the NBA for 2 years and gets thrown around by LeBron James.
Right.
And the way you sound, Keith, and you said you didn't say he won't be drafted in the first round. You said no way he gets drafted in the first round, which tells me you don't think he's going to get drafted in the first round. That's what you're saying. If I'm reading right what you're trying to say, and by the way, I'm hosting the show and reading what you're saying, that's what it sounds like. You're saying that there's no way LeBron James' son, Bronny James, is going to be drafted in the first round. I disagree with you. I think that his athleticism is definitely going to transition in the NBA style of game. And if you look at guys like Donovan Mitchell and Shai, these guys, their games transition better in the NBA than it did in college ball. Who's to say that Bronny James doesn't come to the NBA and his game just transitions better there?
Right. And also, you look at all the teams that maybe are going to get some marketability, even if they don't get LeBron. Like Bronny's still going to be some kind of, all right, they're going to track this kind of thing. They're going to get extra clicks for this for no reason. There's still going to be a storyline for any of these small market teams that don't get a lot of attention either, even if it's negative attention.
On today's show, ESPN First Take, Stephen A. Smith called Kyrie Irving the only championship caliber player in the NBA Finals. He also added that the Celtic fans should boo the hell out of Kyrie even more than cheering for their own team. He also added Dwayne Wade was the best teammate LeBron James ever played with, taking shots at Kyrie Irving. He took shots at Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, saying that they're more focused on being woke off the court than being a star player on the court. He added that Kristaps Porzingis annoys him because of his smirks. He picks the Mavericks in 6 because Kyrie Irving is the only player with a title. Meanwhile, Drew Holiday also won one with the Bucks. Very interesting takes by a guy like Stephen A. Smith. I do believe that Kyrie Irving is the only championship caliber player. He is. He's the only one really besides Drew Holiday. And I'm going to say this. He's wrong. He's wrong about Drew Holiday because Drew Holiday, if you listen to what Giannis has said over the last couple of years, they don't win the championship without Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday was the most important piece to that championship run. So throwing that out and saying that Drew Holiday wasn't a championship type of player, a caliber player, is wrong. Is he now a championship caliber player? He's not the same player. As we see, he did sign an extension with the Celtics this past year for 4 years. I think he's starting to show age as we see White actually have a better season defensively than he did. But he's still a good player. Now, you look at Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is definitely a caliber championship player. I've been speaking highly of him. When he shuts his mouth and he doesn't speak out of order, this guy can go out there and hit the shots. Ball handle as good as anybody we've ever seen. Allen Iverson, who I think is one of the best, if not the best, came out and said that Kyrie Irving's better than he is. So it speaks highly when you have a guy like Allen Iverson speaking, just so many things about your talent and your ability. But again, Kyrie Irving is a head case. And all you have to do is get under Kyrie Irving's, head or get into his head, and he's going to make mistakes. And who could get under his skin? And that's the Celtic fans. The Celtic fans over the years, when he was there for 3 years, and it didn't work. It didn't. And they thought he was the missing piece to put him with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They were even younger, and he was the guy. He was the go-to guy. Running the offense through him, it didn't work. When they winded up trading Kyrie Irving to the Brooklyn Nets, it worked because Jason Tatum became the number one target. He became the number one guy. He transitioned, and he became the star from that organization. But Kyrie Irving is a guy that has won. He was a big part of the winning and the championships of the Cavaliers when they beat the Golden State Warriors. As we've heard, we had one of the best broadcasters in Alcorn. He came on the show and he told us Kyrie Irving he's a winning player. He's that type of player that will win you games by himself. So I agree with Stephen A. Smith that Kyrie Irving is as good, or he's the only real go-to championship player right now in the playoffs, in this championship game, series. But when he says that he believes that Celtics should boo the hell out of him, I agree with him too. Because Kyrie Irving, for all the things you Celtic fans, and there are a lot of Celtic fans that listen to our show, and I can't stand the Celtics. And I think the Celtic fans are, they're asses, okay? I don't like them. I've been to the Celtic game. I've been to a Celtic game. I've been to Bruins games. I was at the Stanley Cup Finals with the St. Louis Blues and the Boston Bruins. I know how loud they are. I know how disrespectful they are. But nevertheless, some of them were very, very nice. I'm not going to lie. Some of the Boston fans were very, very kind to me, even though I was from New York. But the Celtic fans got to be loud. They have to be loud tonight. They have to get under his skin. It's not going to bother Luka Doncic. We've seen it. It makes Luka better. As a matter of fact, when the Timberwolves were doing it, when Anthony Edwards was talking crap about him, saying, he's just a white boy. He's not as good. He's overrated. What did he do every single game? Score 30, 10, and 10. You cannot get under Luka Doncic's skin and expect to get away with it. But Kyrie Irving, we've seen teams get under his skin. We've seen fans get under his skin during the games. If you get under Kyrie Irving's skin, it could benefit the Celtics and take an early lead in this series. You want to get an early lead against this Dallas Maverick team, because if they build confidence like they did against the Timberwolves, it's game over. They're that good. And then, obviously, the Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum situation. And I would agree with him on this one, too. It's crazy. I agree with practically everything that he is saying here. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are fantastic players. They're going to be some of the highest paid players the NBA has ever seen. Jaylen Brown just got a $400 million contract, and Jason Tatum is expected to get a $500 million contract at the end of the season. Both of these players are not winners. Both of these players have been in an NBA final. Both of these players have been in multiple Eastern Conference finals.
5 out of 7 years.
But they can't get over the hump. And people would blame, for years, they would say, well, Brad Stevens is not a winning coach. That's not true.
That's not true at all.
And now they bring in this coach, who I'm not a big fan of myself, who I think has been outcoached by pretty much every single coach he's been. He's played against this postseason. I think he's been outcoached, but he has a great team. He has a great rotation of players, but can these players get over the hump? Can these players outplay a Dallas Maverick team that has probably the 2 better players in this series? I think Luka Doncic is the best player in this series. And I think Kyrie Irving is the second best player in this series. And why? Because Kyrie's done it before. He's won before. He's been the priority offense to the Cavaliers when they beat the Golden State Warriors. And Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, if one plays well, the other one doesn't play well. And when the other one plays well, the other one doesn't play well. It's back and forth. We got to see more strategic offense from other players, including Kristaps Porzingis, when he says that he annoys him. He annoys me too, and I'm going to tell you why he annoys me. Because when he was a Knick, him and his brother tried to swindle the New York Knicks to give him and his brother some kind of ownership of the team. He didn't do that over there with the Wizards. He didn't do that with Dallas, even though the Dallas fans couldn't stand him after 2 years, and him and Luka didn't get along as they were best friends. I would agree with Stephen A. Smith on this one. I don't like looking at Kristaps Porzingis. When he's playing well, he likes to stick it to people. When he's not playing well, he's got excuses. He's always been like that. Always. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Knicks fan. I'm saying that because I watched him when he played for the Wizards. And when the Wizards were losing, he wasn't taking responsibility for that. He wasn't playing at the top of his game. Now, he's had a very good season with 2 really good players. Is he the difference maker in this series? Some people would say that he is. He could be the most important player on this team because he spreads out the perimeter. That gives open jump shots to Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum. Because of his size and his ability to shoot the 3, it spreads everything out on the perimeter.
It's interesting, too, because remember at the time with the Knicks trade, I wasn't crazy about it at the time. I didn't even know the stuff about his brother initially. And you were just like, oh, it's a good trade for that reason, too. And really, that's been the key because he's bumped around and it really hasn't found a home when it comes to just staying with a team stability-wise either. And you've seen the Celtics even at the end of the season play well without him too. So even some question some of those things with the type of player he could be. But I agree with you. You're just going to have to play well in this series in order to do that because Dallas' size has played really well as well. PJ Washington was probably the second best player or third best player in that Minnesota series. And Keith is saying, yeah, he's a good player if he's healthy. Yeah, it took him a while though to become that though. And he was early on in his Knicks career, but still has been very inconsistent.
And I don't care what Keith, you're saying Joe Mazzulla was not outcoached. Okay. If the Pacers had Haliburton, the series could have gone the Pacers' way. Yeah. If the Cavaliers had Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen and Karis LeVert, they don't win that series. They barely won that series. And that was because Mazzulla was making mistakes, calling timeouts and running the offense through the guys that he shouldn't be running the offense. When White was hot, he should have been running the offense through him. Instead, he was running it through Jaylen Brown, who couldn't hit a lick in that game.
Right.
And I don't remember what game it was, but he was running the offense through Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. If they're not playing well, you can't run the offense through them. And to tell me that Joe Mazzulla has had a good season as a head coach, yeah, the regular season, yeah, he's been great. A lot of these players don't play every single game of the season. They take time off. And that's the LeBron James kind of style. All right. They don't play like Michael Jordan, 81, 80 games a season. So to say that Joe Mazzulla has been a good coach in the NBA playoffs, he has not been. He's been outcoached by Rick Carlisle in that series. He was. Rick Carlisle didn't have anybody. His best player was out for three out of the 5 games that they played?
Right. And games 3 and 4, 3 out of the 4 games, besides game 2, were really close, too. The Celtics had to win it really late. They had to come back down 10 a lot of the time. Like, the Pacers had a good game plan for the most part. It just, when they couldn't hit shots, it just ran out.
It was just their players.
That's not about coaching. Like, your players are not hitting shots. Your players are not hitting shots.
Yeah, and I'm not a big Joe Mazzulla fan. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Jason Kidd's a better coach. And if it's going to come down to coaching, Jason Kidd, who's played in the NBA, one of the smartest players I've ever seen as a point guard in the NBA, I think the advantage goes to Dallas. And again, the 2 best players in this series is Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. And that's not even an argument. Now, who has the best all-around team? I would say right now the Celtics with Porzingis. But what Porzingis are you going to get in this series? Right. Are you getting a 75% Porzingis, or are you getting an 85-90% Porzingis? If you're getting an 85-90% Porzingis, you got a chance to just completely demolish a team like the Dallas Mavericks, who I think there's a lot of questions. Now, I like Galford, and I think he had a very good series against the Timberwolves. He proved that he was worth every single penny that they traded for at the trade deadline. And Washington, is sensational. He's been sensational in the playoffs as well. When he needed to score, and he needed to score 16, 17 points, they're running they can run the offense through him just as much as they run it from Luka and as they run it through Kyrie Irving. So I think that there's a lot of different styles are connected in this series, and it could be a good series. I don't know if it's going to be a good series. It could be an outslaught because I don't like Joe Mazzulla. I don't think he's that good of a coach.
I also look at the Stephen A. Smith's comment about Kyrie Irving being the only championship caliber player. Yeah, you could say that maybe about Jaylen Brown, because Jaylen Brown has had his playoff struggles. Jason Tatum was better in his younger years, kind of streaky now. But Luka Doncic, I believe, is the active leader in points per game among playoff players with a certain qualifier. And Luka Doncic was doing it on some horrible teams in the past. This is the best team, most well-rounded team that he's had. And he had Jalen Brunson and Kyrie Irving, but that was really it.
So if you're reading what Snug says, I can't wait till no, that wasn't the thing that he said here. If you kept moving forward in the playoffs, hold on, it keeps moving. If you kept moving forward in the playoffs, does it really matter if you're getting outcoached? It does when you get into the finals, when coaching means a lot. When you need to call a timeout and the offense isn't running very well, or you need to call a defensive style of game because the other team is just shooting threes all over the court, what is Mazzulla going to do? Now, if you're a good coach, guys like Tom Thibodeau that understands how to play and defend, or Rick Carlisle, you can start saying, okay, the offense is getting run through Tatum. Take Tatum out. Let Jaylen Brown, who's not having a good game, beat us. If he beats us, so be it. That's the way a good coach handles things. I don't think Joe Mazzulla is a good coach. Again, when you look at the regular season, yeah, he was 64-18. The regular season, it doesn't mean anything. As we've seen, look at the Knicks. They were the second best team in the Eastern Conference. They got knocked out by an Indiana Pacer team that wasn't even close to as good as they were. No. Now, if the Knicks were fully healthy, it might have been different. But nevertheless, you play what you have on the court. There's no excuses. You lose, you lose.
And also, Jason Kidd's coaching a 5 seed that had to go through a lot more difficult of a path.
Oh, I can't wait. He says, I don't think coaching means anything in the NBA. Really? Tell that to Coach Popovich. Tell that to him. Tell that to some of the coaches that have won championships. That meant a lot. Don Nelson, he wasn't a good coach.
Yeah.
I could go up and down. Pat Riley, he wasn't a good coach. Pat Riley didn't have anything to do with the Lakers championships.
I'm not saying, Keith.
Look at the difference. Look at the difference. They had a coach that won a championship, and then the next year they had to get rid of because it wasn't working. They put Pat Riley there, and they win multiple championships. You're going to tell me coaching means nothing in the NBA?
Keith, the only way that statement is true is with some of the LeBron teams, but even so, like Eric Spoelstra, look at the coach he's developed into. He's really good since LeBron left, and probably is the best coach in the NBA. That's why until Tyrone Lue just got his contract last week, for whatever reason, Eric Spoelstra was the highest paid coach in the NBA. There are still good coaches that could do that.
Because here you go, Snug, trying to transition this and make it even more of an argument. Okay, why he says why would coaching mean different in the finals than it does in the semifinals? Because All you got to do is get through this team. You're in the finals now. All you got to do, and you got to call the right play, and you're watching the game, and you're a skeptic, just like the fans. And you're sitting there, and you're saying, why isn't my offense not working? Why are my players not hitting shots? Maybe if I put my players in better positions to score, I'm going to have a better chance of winning the game. And you're going to say that to semifinals. Well, here's the reason why. Missoula, who did he play? Who did he play against Indiana in the finals, in the Eastern Conference Finals? He didn't have to play a really good team. First of all, a team that didn't have their best player. In the semifinals, they didn't have Donovan Mitchell in the last 2 games. They didn't have Karis LeVert in the last 3 games, and they didn't have Jared Allen in the last 3 games. That's why you're playing a fully stacked, healthy team right now. A healthy Dallas Mavericks team. That's why, Snug, if you want to go back and forth and argue with me.
Think about this too, Keith, as well. They made the finals with Ime Udoka after Brad Stevens took the front office job and stepped down as the head coach. And they stylistically did not have to change much. It's a system that works. You want to say that he's running the system very well, fine. But to say he's an elite NBA coach is not the case. Because if you were to swap the Celtics and the Pacers coaches, Joe Mazzulla would not be able to coach the Pacers the same way that he's coaching the Celtics. Like the way Rick Carlisle the way Rick Carlisle was creative with his bench. They were the best bench scoring since they made all those trades in the second half of the season. And that's losing Benedict Mathurin, who was the 7th overall pick in the draft, one of their better 3-point shooters for the season, to an injury. So they were rotating 10, 11 guys to beat the Knicks and to stay close with the Celtics. That takes good coaching in order to do that. And same kind of thing with Jason Kidd when they got these trade deadline acquisitions. He's been very good with the management of this team, with this Dallas Mavericks team. And finally, I know they have star players, but they're finally in the NBA Finals as a 5 seed.
Yeah, it's interesting. And again, my argument here, when you look at this series, it could go either way. Who's going to get hot and who's not? And I'm going to tell you this right now. Porzingis could play a big part on the Celtics' success in this series. But is Porzingis 75-70%, or is he 80-85%? If he's 80-85%, there's a very good chance that he could cause a lot of problems, especially with the size, his length and his athletic ability. Gafford's a good player, and he's very strong, but he's not as athletic as Porzingis, and he can't shoot like Porzingis. Porzingis can give you 20 points, even if he's coming off the bench and he's giving you 15 points. If you're getting that from him, and you're getting 12, 13 points from Jrue Holiday, and then you're getting 30 from Jalen and 30 from Jason, you have a chance to win every single one of these games. So there's a lot of questions in this series. I all the things that Stephen A. Smith has said, and you can go back and forth with it, I think he's right on every single topic that he hit on this at this rate on First Take. So it's there's a lot of questions to this series. I think it'll be very, very close. It could be interesting throughout this series. So that's an interesting story as well. Go ahead.
No, I was going to just read Keith's comment. I know he's an elite coach and he's still in the finals, so my point is made. Not every coach that's in the finals is an elite coach. Is that we're going to think that Tyronn Lue with the Cavs was an elite coach?
Multiple reports say that 3 Chicago Sky players were harassed in their team hotel on multiple occasions following the Chennedy Carter's cheap shot against Caitlin Clark. Carter, along with Angel Reese and other players, were mocking the security at the arena and were surprised there was no police involvement in that matter. The Chicago Sun-Times reports that a man without credentials came up with a camera at Carter. Angel Reese was also ejected from the game against the Liberty, and her fine was paid by Lonzo Ball, who thought it was a weak ejection. UConn head coach Gino Auriemma took shots at Carter and other WNBA players, saying that Caitlin Clark is being unfairly targeted. Fox Sports host Joy Taylor said that nobody knew who Caitlin Clark was before Angel Reese. Clark is the all-time leading scorer in both men's and women's basketball in NCAA history. I'm going to say this, okay? It's a shame that Caitlin Clark isn't getting the accolades from the players like she's getting from all the endorsers and everybody else not involved in the WNBA. And I love with Gino Auriemma said. And you know why I love what Gino Auriemma said? Because he's absolutely right. She's wrongly targeted. And if you're a player that wants to make money, that wants to make this a career, wants to turn the WNBA into a place where you want young girls to want to play after they leave college instead of going overseas, Caitlin Clark is one of the main reasons why that could happen. Now, I understand that, and I would agree with Chennedy Carter. I would absolutely agree with her that it's not safe if you have somebody without credentials coming on the court, taking pictures of you and calling you names and doing the things that you wouldn't expect the security to allow happen. That I would agree that the WNBA needs to look into this. They need to protect their players. If you look at the NBA, you can't even step on the court when the game is playing. You will not be able to step on the court. Not even if you're Spike Lee can you step on the court. And that the NBA is fully pushed over the years, protecting their players, protecting their assets. And right now, I would agree. But I disagree with Angel Reese. I disagree with Carter on why they keep mocking this girl. She is a girl that deserves a little bit more respect for what she has done for the WNBA. And it wasn't easy becoming an all-time leading scorer for the men's and women's basketball, okay? You think it's easy? Why don't you do it? Chennedy Carter, why don't you do that in college basketball? Hey, Angel Reese, you were a pretty good damn player in college basketball. Why didn't you do it if you think it's so easy? It's not. What Caitlin Clark did was amazing. She's a special player. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Puerto Rican, or Haitian. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish, Catholic, or you're Buddhist. Why does it matter what color you are? What does it matter what your genetic is? You should just respect her for what she's doing for the game, helping the game. Is she the superstar that everybody thinks she's going to be? Probably not. But what she's doing right now, she's not a bad player.
No, she's the first player with 150, 50, and 50. We discussed it 2 days ago. She's just having problems with turnovers right now, and she plays for a bad team.
It makes no sense why nobody wants to give her respect. And again, it is the WNBA right now. And it's still growing. It's a growing sport. And women's sports are growing. It is growing massively. And now you see all these young girls buying jerseys. It doesn't matter if Caitlin Clark's on the back of it or Chennedy Carter's in the back of it. It's helping the WNBA. If you're going to go to a food market and you're not going out there and looking for LeBron James jerseys, or you're looking for a Donovan Mitchell jersey or Jalen Brunson, and you're seeing a Caitlin Clark jersey, that says a lot about the WNBA and the growth of the WNBA.
And again, you also look at the actions that have come as a result of this WNBA draft since she was drafted as well. Now, some of them have been disturbing. I was talking about it with the reporter that was trying to flirt with her and be gross with her. And I think there were a couple other ones since then too. And now you're seeing this photographer, this fake credentials guy trying to go after her. That's the impact of somebody like Caitlin Clark being in there. So this photographer, which I'm not advocating what he did, obviously. It was wrong for what he did going after the Chicago Sky players. But you're seeing that kind of like fanboy mentality because of somebody like Caitlin Clark. And it's leading to this unfortunate behavior, but still, that's the impact that he's going to have.
You know what's so funny? I'm looking at what Jeff is saying about her. I'm seeing what Keith is saying about her, and they have nothing good to say about her. And they always have something to throw Caitlin Clark under the bus because they obviously are Caitlin Clark haters. Let me tell you something. If you go look at right now, all the rookies, all the girls that came out of the WNBA draft this year, who's played well? Who out of the top 15, top 20 players have played well?
The only one I think is Cameron Brink, but even her offense isn't as great as Clark's by any means.
Caitlin Clark's been the best player. Mm-hmm. She's been the best player. Well-deserved. Yep. And for anybody to take shots at Caitlin Clark saying that she's no good and she's not helping the WNBA, and then you're cheap hitting her, and she's going up for layups, and you're trying to throw her into the crowds, that's unfair. And I'm going to tell you this right now. You can like her or hate her. She's helping the game. She's helping the game. When LeBron James came to the NBA and everybody gave her, they anointed him into the king, the greatest basketball player. Everybody was comparing him to Michael Jordan. Okay? It took him years to really develop it. He won Rookie of the Year. Does anybody believe he was the Rookie of the Year that year? I don't think he was. I think Carmelo Anthony should have been Rookie of the Year that year. If you look at the numbers would tell you Carmelo Anthony should have won Rookie of the Year that year. Okay? So, but they gave it to LeBron. Why? Because he was the new superstar in the NBA. You look at Caitlin Clark, what she's driving and who she's driving to the stadiums. She's packing out the stadiums. Right. Who the hell cares what her shooting percentage is?
And if you're going to bash her for her shooting percentage too, there's other rookies that have struggled offensively so far. We were talking about Angel Reese. Angel Reese shot less than 30% in one of the games. Not the one she was ejected in, but one of the other games on that road trip. She shot 25%. Are you going to go bash her for that?
And we put up a short the other day, okay? And we had 6,000-7,000 people answer to it in over 48 hours, okay? And I was attacked by my thoughts to what I said and saying that I'm racist. And the reason why Caitlin Clark is getting all those endorsements and shoe deals is because she's white. Why do you think and saying that you don't know what you're talking about? Okay, maybe she is white. Okay, maybe that's why pizza companies and State Farm, but you can't say that because guess who's the lead person for the, shut that off, Speedy.
Jeff.
I understand it's Jeff, and I know what Jeff's going to say.
We have a guest at 8 anyway, so.
He could call after, okay? I'm going to say this. When you look at what Caitlin Clark has done, and you look at everything that's gone on in the NBA, and you look at it doesn't matter what you are, what color you are, and what you have done, in college or what you're doing in the NBA. And that's what I hate about Jeff. He calls up at the worst times when I'm trying to pitch my thoughts to this. And I'm going to tell you this. It has nothing to do, and I am not racist. I've never been racist. I've never spoke bad about a color or what you are on and off the court, okay? What I will say about Caitlin Clark and what people don't understand is she stands for something. Right. She stands for what the WNBA hasn't had. And that's a superstar player that is going to grow the sport. The sport, we could go on and on and on of some of the great players that have played in the WNBA that have retired, that have not taken the WNBA to that next level. Have not. Caitlin Clark comes and she's selling out every single game. And now everybody like Carter and Reese and everybody's cheap hitting her and doing all these stuff to her, talking trash about her on and off the court. What is the reasoning for it? And you know what? If I was Caitlin Clark, I'd be laughing to the bank. You know why? Because I'm doing my job. I'm out there doing my job. I am bringing fans to their seats. I am bringing fans to their feet. And I'm making sure that I am making Indiana a place to come and watch women's basketball.
And you also brought up the differences with these different ethnicity as well. I think Cameron Brink, who was the second overall pick, where I was mentioning with the Sparks, commented that there should be some level of white privilege with the shoe deals. Yeah, but that also isn't the same case with the way that she's getting cheap shotted in the league. That doesn't make a difference on what race you are either. That kind of thing based on you're trying to create some kind of villain story. And I was saying that with Angel Reese, she's already perceived as the villain to Caitlin Clark, which is fine. That's who she wants to be. All right, you're doing a villain origin story. Why is Chennedy Carter taking cheap shots? Like Fish is saying in our private chat here, Chennedy Carter was playing overseas last year. She hasn't even been good enough to make a WNBA roster consistently, and she's had issues with her own teams in the past.
And by the way, Jeff, you want to say that I thought she was going to score 30 points? You can laugh all you want. You know what's so funny? When you look at Keith and you look at Snug, these guys should be hanging out with each other because all they got to do is say derogatory things about what we're saying. If you don't like what we're saying, don't listen. How's that, Keith? How's that, Jeff? How's that, Snug? Don't listen. If you don't like it, don't listen. But I'm going to tell you this right now. She has done more for the WNBA than any player in history. In what? How many games? 12?
10
13,
games.
10 games? 10 games. She has done more than any WNBA player when you name them. She's selling out games. I'm wrong? No, Keith, you're wrong. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking to FanSided Director of Content, Josh Hill, for the first time on our show here at the Sports Loudmouth. But ladies and gentlemen, before we do that, our Sports Minute with our man, Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
Top of the hour, everybody knows what time it is. The Loudmouth Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops to bring you guys all the news. Starting off with the NBA, the Spurs are apparently favored to trade for power forward Lauri Markkanen if Utah is willing to trade him. Thunder and Pistons are also possibly making a move for the 7-foot forward this offseason. Switching over in the NFL, the Panthers are signing UFL wide receiver Dawood Davis. After being cut by the Dolphins back in 2023, Davis becomes the first UFL player to sign with an NFL team. Lastly, the Eagles have signed all their draft picks from this prior after signing first-round cornerback Quinion Mitchell to a 4-year deal with a 5th-year option. Transitioning over into scoops and scores right now, Minnesota and the Yankees are both tied at 2 apiece. Los Angeles and Pittsburgh both have 4-4, with Washington having a 2-0 lead over Atlanta. Chicago currently has a 2-2 lead with St. Louis, and Baltimore and Toronto are set to tip off soon with, in the NBA, as everybody knows, later in the day is the NBA Finals, starting with Dallas and the Boston Celtics at 8:30 p.m. That is currently all the time I have for you guys right now. I'm going to stick it back to the boys for their next guest on the Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey every single Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Wow, we have a lot of people that are hating on what we're talking about tonight, but hey, if we're stirring up crap, I know I'm doing my job, ladies and gentlemen. But now, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time on the Sports Loudmouth, he's never been on the show. We're very excited and very happy to get him on the show. We're now talking to FanSided Director and Content, Mr. Josh Hill. Josh, what's up, buddy?
How's it going, guys? Glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you here. So, Josh, before we get into some sports with you and so many things that are going on in, obviously, football and, you know, all the sports that you know, how did you become the director of FanSided?
Well, I'm content director at FanSided, and I've been doing this for like 10 years, more than 10 years, I guess, because it's 2010 is when I started doing it. I was actually in film school back in Minnesota, and I've always liked sports. I've always liked talking about sports. And back when I was in 3rd grade, like I wanted to be, my dream when we had to like say what we want to be when we grow up, it was going to be a sportscaster, a sports announcer. So it was always sort of in my future somewhere. I just didn't know how it was going to happen. And then I found FanSided. Back when they were still growing, back in the infancy of the digital media boom. And it was just kind of right place, right time. And from there, it's, you know, just up and away. But yeah, it's been quite the journey since 2010 from just a dude in his apartment to where I'm at now. Anything,
you're
like
doing-
KG said, anything is possible.
Yeah, that's true. KG. Anyways, why don't we get into some football? We obviously know that you cover the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield. There was a lot of conversation over the last couple of months of the season is he going to re-sign with the Buccaneers? And then Mike Evans did. Some people thought that he was going to be traded or he was going to be let go. He signs a big contract in the offseason, and then Baker Mayfield. What were your thoughts? Did you think there were any chances that Baker Mayfield was going to head somewhere else, or the Buccaneers weren't interested in re-signing him?
No, all along it felt like Baker was going to come back because Baker and the Bucs, they had this relationship that kind of went unnoticed because it was a mutual respect between Jason Light and Baker Mayfield that went all the way back to when they signed him last March. And what was the reaction when Baker signed? Every Twitter comedian had the same lame joke about how, Baker Mayfield, he's the one that's going to replace Tom Brady. It was never about replacing Tom Brady. It was about etching a new future for the Buccaneers, about starting a new chapter. Nobody was ever expecting, at least in Tampa Bay and Buccaneers fans, nobody was expecting Baker Mayfield to come in and instantly take what Tom Brady did and just continue it. It's supposed to be a new thing. And you heard that, Tristan Wirfs, when he would talk, anytime you asked him about the offense, or even, Mike Evans and guys, Baker Mayfield was the nucleus of that locker room. He was the guy where everybody bought into his grittiness, the chip on his shoulder, his attitude. That redefined the identity of the Buccaneers. There was no way they were going to let that get away in free agency. And I don't think that there was a chance that Baker Mayfield was going to leave for more money, because he could have. Like he accepted an extension before the tampering period began. And had he reached that period, the Falcons would have come knocking. The Patriots would have come knocking. The Vikings probably would have offered him something. Like, the list just goes on. And then all of a sudden you have a bidding war. I don't think this was ever about the money for Baker Mayfield. It was about the fit. He's starting a family. He just had a child in Tampa Bay. He finally feels at home. And this is a guy who's bounced around from Cleveland to Carolina to LA. He's never been in one place where he's felt like he's the guy. And Tampa Bay has really made him, they've rolled out the red carpet, they've made him feel like a king, and they paid him like that. And now they're saying, hey, we believe in you. We're going to go out, we're going to get an offensive coordinator that is familiar with you. We're going to go above and beyond to try to bring back Mike Evans. We're not just going to have you here and go, hey, it's going to be the same old, same old. They're trying to build something with Baker Mayfield. He's at the center of that, and they're making him feel like he's at the center of that. And I think that was always part of this. They were never really there was never really a split in my mind possible, just because they fit together too well. And like I said, he's part of he's a core piece of the identity of that team. Moving forward, it's Baker and the Bucs, full stop.
So they were actually one of my favorite drafts. A lot of teams that did well, Eagles, Lions, were playoff teams in the drafts, and the Bucs were another one. Graham Barton was my favorite interior offensive lineman. I like Chris Braswell a lot. What were your thoughts on some of their draft picks that they had?
And then McMillan, the wide receiver out of Washington, who might end up replacing Chris Godwin, depending on what happens with his contract next season. Or best case scenario, you've got Evans, Godwin, McMillan, you've got Trey Palmer, and then they just went out and got Sterling Shepard today. Again, showing Baker Mayfield, we're going to give you weapons. We want to have this work with you. I like Barton. You need to go out and get an offensive lineman. That's what they needed last year. They needed to get an offensive lineman last year, and they kind of Jason zagged when everybody thought he was going to zig, and he grabbed Kalijah Cansey, which that worked out really well. You've got to protect Baker, but more importantly, you have to get that run game going. We're going into the third year where the run game is non-existent. I mean, they could throw the three of us out there. We probably averaged the same amount of yardage as Rachaad White was, and Rachaad White had a kind of a breakout season last year as somebody who's establishing himself as a name brand in the NFL. And the fact that he isn't successful in that offense as a running back is a problem. That's why you go out and you get Graham Barton in the first round. It's not only just to protect Baker Mayfield, it's you have to start making that offense dynamic. You have to start making it something that's not just Mike Evans. It's not just a couple of pieces. It's well-rounded. And then that's how you're going to start running a little bit deeper than the NFC divisional round next year.
By the way, we were talking to FanSided Director of Content, Josh Hill. Josh, you look at the division, and obviously you look at the Saints. They bring in a rookie quarterback, and they still have a veteran quarterback that might be on his way out. Again, Derek Carr didn't have a good season. It didn't work out over there. They have him for at least this year. You have the Falcons. They bring in Kirk Cousins. They draft Michael Penix. There was a lot of questions there. And then you have the Panthers. And I expect Bryce Young to have a better season with a great coach. As we all know, the coach in that division. It's very interesting. You look at the Buccaneers right now in that division. Do you still think they're the best team in that division?
I do. I think that, and that's part of that is bias, but the other part of that is they're kings until they get knocked off the throne. Like, this is 3 straight years that they've won the NFC South. You have to come at the king and don't miss. And so far, everybody's missed. The Saints haven't been able to do it. The Falcons haven't been able to do it. And the Panthers have been one of the worst teams in football for the last 2 years. I do think the division is better, though. I do think that with Kirk Cousins, that offense is going to get a lot better. I also like Raheem Morris, somebody else that Bucs fans are very familiar with. Kind of happy to see him get another shot at being a head coach. I think he's going to come in there and make that defense something that is underrated. Everybody's talking about all the weapons that they have on offense. Look at what Raheem Morris did in L.A. with that Rams defense. And now he's going to try and come over in Atlanta. He's going to try to shut down that division. He's got the rest, pretty weak NFC that he's going to try and shut down. So I think that's something to watch with Atlanta. They're going to be improved on both sides of the ball. And the Saints are they're annoying. The Saints are always hanging around. Derek Carr, he's going to be good for a couple of games. He's going to be somebody who's, I think he's going to improve. The offense is always sort of sneaky with some of those guys. Alvin Kamara, it seemed like he had a down year last year. Olave, he's a guy you got to watch out for. And that defense, Cam Jordan loves talking, crap about the Bucs, and oftentimes he does back it up. And I think just in general, that whole NFC South has little brother syndrome to the rest of the NFC. You've got everything going on in the NFC North. It's a big, sexy division. The NFC East is a massively talented division. And then you've got the West, where you've got, the reigning NFC champion out there in San Francisco, plus a Seahawks team that's always spicy. The Rams are good. So the NFC South in general sort of feels like the little brother in the NFC. And I think that's going to be a motivating factor, in addition to wanting to beat up on each other and try to be that team coming out of there. Because, hey, teams, when they win the NFC South, they tend to win the Super Bowl. So you look at the or they get to the Super Bowl. The Panthers got to the Super Bowl. The Saints won the Super Bowl. Granted, it was a little while ago. The Bucks have 2. So, the Falcons, they did what they did in the Super Bowl.
We remember that. Kyle Shanahan, thank you to him. But, it's interesting. Christian McCaffrey got a big contract. I got a 2-year extension, big time deal, $19 million. And then obviously a guy like Justin Jefferson, who I think I understand why Minnesota did it, but he is a trade piece. If it doesn't work out this year, JJ McCarthy, he's going to be to me a quarterback that they need to build. O'Connell's never coached a young quarterback of this magnitude. Now, obviously, he was an offensive coordinator, but he's never been a coach of a young quarterback of this magnitude. If it doesn't work this year, I could see Justin Jefferson saying, "Get me the hell out of here, trade me somewhere." Do you see that? Do you think that Justin Jefferson getting the money that he wanted and making Minnesota making him the richest wide receiver in NFL history is going to keep him happy over there, even if JJ McCarthy doesn't have the season that everybody expects him to have?
I think, you've probably got 2 or 3 years before we reach that point where Justin Jefferson's like, all right, I got to get out of here. I would lean more towards 2, just because even with Kirk Cousins, who right away everybody's sort of saying might be better than JJ McCarthy in the moment, as far as if you want to try and compete right now. There was viral clips of Jefferson going, on the sideline yelling about, Kirk Cousins, and same thing with Adam Thielen. Like, there was this whole thing with him, and Vikings fans tended to think that he was somebody that they needed to bring back to try and go to a Super Bowl. Now you're sort of hitting the reset button. I think that's why you get a couple of years of grace period with Justin Jefferson to see if this works and to see if they can add any other pieces. Like, you got TJ Hawkinson, you've got Jordan Addison, you've got a little bit of a spiciness to that offense. I think the question is, can JJ McCarthy develop? And Vikings fans that I know, they were like all crazy about JJ McCarthy. I'm like, did you guys watch any Michigan games? Like, yeah, they went to the national championship and they won, but let's not pretend like we're dealing with one of the greatest offenses in college football history. Like, there was games where they would just literally run the football the entire second half to run out the clock. Like, when you're running out the clock at the 15-minute mark of the third quarter, that's not necessarily an endorsement of your quarterback. Granted, it's college, it's a Harbaugh system. We'll kind of see how this works. And like you said, O'Connell, if he's the quarterback whisperer, this is the challenge. But again, you go back early in that draft process, and everybody's talking about Drake May. The Vikings are going to trade up for Drake May. And it wasn't until late that it shifted to, oh, no, J.J. McCarthy's the guy. And then the Vikings, after they get him, we wanted J.J. McCarthy all along. I don't know about that. He's not necessarily somebody who lights me on fire. And if I'm Justin Jefferson, at least the checks are going to be clearing for the next couple of years. It's whether or not McCarthy can develop. And that's the huge thing with the Vikings, because they've never had a quarterback who's developed like that. I think you got to go back to Dante Culpepper to have the last quarterback who they drafted who ended up actually mildly delivering on the promise. JJ McCarthy.
Teddy Bridgewater was good. Teddy Bridgewater was good.
Well, Bridgewater was good, too. The injuries,
before he hurt his knee and his career was practically over. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater was developing into a championship quarterback. It was just a shame what happened to him in a practice, and that was just shocking for him. So I agree with you. It's all about developing JJ McCarthy, but are they going to be able to develop him? And is Justin Jefferson actually going to stay and wait and see if that happens? He's a personality. We see these wide receivers become prima donnas. Tyreek Hill, obviously wants the money. Justin Jefferson did get his money. And I think the whole Kirk Cousins thing was mainly he wanted his money. So they couldn't pay Kirk Cousins and pay Justin Jefferson what he wanted. They had to pick one or the other, and they picked the star wide receiver because he is the franchise as we speak.
Yeah, and I think that the kind of going off of that, if they're spending all this money on Justin Jefferson, what else can they add down the road? Like, this is now we're relying on the Vikings to build this through the draft because you have so much money invested in Jefferson. You're going to have to pay some of these other guys as it's coming up. And the defense was the big thing with those Teddy Bridgewater teams because he was good. Bridgewater was good, but those Mike Zimmer defenses, they were the gas in that engine. They're the reason why that team was in a position to have Teddy Bridgewater look as good as he did, or to put him in a position to succeed. Is that going to be the case now with JJ McCarthy? Is he going to get that defense? Or that's where it comes back to the development. Can the Vikings survive these shootouts? Are they going to be able to survive a shootout with Caleb Williams? Or if things get, nasty with Jordan Love against the Packers or something like that. Or we saw how many games with the Lions, as good as the Lions defense was, they just bled points to offenses. And those were shootouts. Can the Vikings survive those games? Again, JJ McCarthy in college, not necessarily convincing me that that's going to happen. But again, that's college. I don't want to pretend like, he's going to play like that his entire career. But like you said, now it's on O'Connell. Can he develop this guy?
So yeah, I know you're a Minnesota sports fan. We'll get to the Timberwolves in a bit, but I want to ask one more thing about the Vikings. There were two rumors of things that almost happened. One of which was trading up for Drake May, like you were mentioning. The Vikings were the closest team in trading up with the Patriots. So that's one. And then there was another rumor I saw a couple of days ago that they were very interested in Malik Neighbors, and they would have traded Jefferson to the Chargers and gotten some other draft picks back as well, extra first-round picks. Would you have done either of those two moves?
The Neighbors one's interesting. I would consider doing the Neighbors one, but you got to go back. The Neighbors thing, I think it's a timeline thing. So this was kind of what I was talking with some of my Chicago friends about, the Justin Fields versus Caleb Williams thing, where you're resetting the clock by drafting Caleb Williams. The front office is resetting the clock. Was this front office willing to reset the clock at wide receiver? Or do you want to get Justin Jefferson locked up? Now you've got an attractive piece where you can recruit. You can go out and say, hey, look, we've got this, one of the best wide receivers in football. This is a guy on offense you're going to want to come and play with. Or on defense, this is a guy you're going to want to come and play with. And I think that's why you don't make the Neighbors trade, because it's a hard reset and you don't have any of those established pieces on offense. With Jefferson, at least you have that attractive piece to go, we have a superstar. We have a reason for fans to watch, and we have a reason for other players to maybe consider coming to Minnesota. If it's a difference between, am I going here or am I going to Minnesota? It's now, do you want to play with Justin Jefferson or do you want to go somewhere else? And I think that could end up being a powerful tool for the Vikings.
We are talking to FanSided Director of Content, Josh Hill. Josh, before we get into some basketball, and we'll get into a little bit of baseball with you too, because you're a Twins guy. By the way, the Yankees and Twins are 2-2 right now. I think they're in the fifth inning. Am I right? I think it's the fifth inning right now with the Yankees. But what is it? Top of the fourth. But so before we get into that, you look at right now the NFC, and then we'll get into the AFC quickly. The NFC, the Lions are expected to be one of the elite teams right now in the NFC. But how about the Packers? Jordan Love had a sensational year last year. A lot of people were throwing him to the Wolves in the first half of the season. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Brett Favre. Get rid of him. But Jordan Love took off in the second half of the season and was probably the second or third best quarterback in the league in the second half of the season. And if he did that in the beginning of the season, maybe he's the MVP of the league. It's really remarkable what he did with a bunch of rookie wide receivers. What do you think of the Green Bay Packers in a division that everybody thinks is going to be dominated by the Lions?
I like the Pack. The game against the 49ers was sort of a, oh no, this is going to be another good Packers team for the next couple of years moment, because Jordan Love didn't look as rattled as maybe you thought he would in that situation. And granted, he made some mistakes and all that kind of stuff, but for a guy who was all of that weight, all of the Aaron Rodgers weight that was on his shoulders and the expectations from Packers fans, for him to sort of settle in and almost brush off all of the stress, that to me, there's the X's and O's part, and then there's the part where it's like, okay, he can handle the pressure. He might be the right guy for this job. And it also is telling that, I've got friends that are Vikings fans, that are Bears fans. They were all watching that game too, and they were all having the same, God, not again, sort of reaction to it, where it's like, they're not winning. Like, the Packers didn't win that game, but you came away from it going, okay, Jordan Love, he's going to be a guy that's going to be really dangerous for the next couple of years, or at least has the potential to be really dangerous for the next couple of years. The question is, again, it's like the Vikings thing with LaFleur. It felt like there was a power battle between Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur especially at the end there. Now LaFleur is in control. It's his team. He can mold Jordan Love the way he wants to. We've seen Jordan Love can be very, very good. How much of the success is LaFleur? How much of the success is Jordan Love? That's going to be sort of the battle I think that everybody's going at next year. But I like the Packers. It's kind of like the thing with the Bucs in the NFC South. Until you have a reason to go, nope, they're done, they're out, you can't count them out.
Josh, you look at the AFC, and quickly, there's a lot of good teams. The Ravens, the Browns, the Steelers, the Bengals. That is probably the best division in football. You can't even really argue that it's the best division in football. The Ravens were very, very close, but very far after the Kansas City Chiefs. And Kansas City adds Xavier Worthy. Thank you to the Buffalo Bills for giving them another piece to possibly win another Super Bowl. And then you have the AFC South, the Texans, the Jaguars, the Colts, the Titans. All four teams could be dangerous this year. But the team, we're here in New York. When you put the team together right now and you look at the rosters, the New York Jets roster is ridiculous. If they can actually stay healthy and keep Aaron Rodgers healthy, could this team be the team to knock off the Kansas City Chiefs?
I think so. I'll go back to, again, not to keep making this about the Bucs, but you go back to that Super Bowl that the Bucs won over the Chiefs. And everybody said, oh, Tom Brady, he did it without the Patriots. He did it without Belichick. That's sort of like the headline narrative there. But I think over time, history is going to remember Todd Bowles put a historic ass kicking on that team. He found a way to shut them down. And that was a defensive Super Bowl. That is why the Bucs won. And I see a lot of that with the Jets. That's why I thought Mike Evans made a lot of sense going to New York. I didn't know if the money would work, but he gets to go and play with another future Hall of Famer and Aaron Rodgers, and he has a defense that can back it up. And I think that's going to be the difference maker with the Jets. Look, you've got Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes in that scenario, and it's those two sort of cancel each other out almost because they're both iconic players. It's the defense, and Kansas City has a really good defense. But we saw last year how many games were the Jets in that they had absolutely no business being in, and it was because of the defense. And if you had a quarterback, those games go differently. Now you get Aaron Rodgers back. Now you have the quarterback. So if the defense is just as good, and I think it will be just as good, and it will be just as hungry, if not hungrier, to prove people wrong, that's a dangerous mix. And I think, looking at that Super Bowl that the Chiefs lost, and now even looking at this one with the Jets, it's the defense. That's what it's going to come down to. So yeah, I like the Jets.
Yeah, so I want to go to the Timberwolves now. I know you're a big Timberwolves fan, a very successful season for them. They beat the defending champion Denver Nuggets, one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. So what were your overall impressions with them throughout the season and throughout the playoffs?
I was saying this before the season because everybody was like, oh, you got to trade Cat. You got to get rid of him. Like, you got to figure out a way to build around Ant and Gobert because it's not going to work with the two bigs. And it was like last year they played, 7 games where it was Cat, Ant, Gobert, Mike Conley, McDaniels. I was like, give it some time. Let's see what this core looks like. Let's see what they can do. And it turns out they've had the best season in franchise history. And they go back to the conference finals where they unfortunately ran out of gas. But look, the Mavs series was tough. There's no easy way to sort of slice that one. They ran out of gas. They emptied the tank against the Nuggets, and that's kind of, it is what it is. But nothing takes away from the season that they had. The development of Ant. I mean, the kid's only 22 years old, and he's already as good as he is. He's already having these iconic playoff games where it's like Timberwolves fans, I cannot express to you how distant that is for us to go a playoff series where we can celebrate our superstar player. It's like you're dreaming. Like, you can't even believe that this is real. So the season, look, it was all about the development of Ant this season, but now it's about how well that core came together in the playoffs. Like, they sweep Phoenix, and then they have some of the best defensive games that I've ever seen against Jokic, against Murray, against that Nuggets team. It's just, when it clicks, it clicks. And I think that they found out that they got the taste of what success is like. And that's something that the Timberwolves have never, ever had. And you go back to those KG teams versus this team, because that's the closest comparison. Those KG teams, they were putting together, 30-year-old free agents to come in and try and help Garnett win. When they went to the conference finals against the Lakers and they lost, that was not a team that was built for the future. That was a team that was built to try and win in that moment. This team has a future. Like, Ant's 22, Naz Reid's going to be 25 next year. McDaniel's going to be 24 next year. Alexander Walker is super young. And then you can pepper in some of these older guys like Rudy Gobert, who isn't even that old. And then you've got Mike Conley, who, again, is a veteran, but he's not necessarily ancient. And maybe you go out and get like a Reggie Jackson in free agency or something. You go out and you find some of these pieces. The future is so bright with the Timberwolves. That's kind of what everybody's taken away from this season. It's like, yeah, it sucks to lose in the conference finals, and it especially sucks to lose the way that you did, but nothing can take away from the journey that was to that point, and then just the promise that's here that, again, I can't express the impossible feeling of promise for Timberwolves fans. We don't know. It's like a new emotion. It's like a robot learning how to feel. I don't know what to do with myself.
Well, I'm a Knick fan, so I know all about that. We are talking to FanSided Director of Content, Josh Hill. You know, it's so interesting, and going back to the Timberwolves, they did have a great season, and Anthony Edwards is going to want a lot of money. He's going to want to get paid, and this is an ownership that doesn't even know who's going to be the owner in the near future. So Alex Rodriguez wanted to buy it. Now he stepped out. I mean, he had a team of guys that were interested in buying it with him. It didn't work out. And Anthony Edwards could be the highest paid player in NBA history. They could extend him at the end of the season for, I don't know, $450, $500 million. I mean, they're saying that's what Jason Tatum's going to get. So you look at Cat, and I know you said that Cat had a great season when he came back, but he's a piece that you could move. You have a lot of bigs. You have Rudy Gobert that's there. You want to rebuild. You gave away a ton of draft picks when you traded for Rudy Gobert. You need to restock up. And there are teams right now looking for a big man that can spread the floor. One of them, the New York Knicks. He comes from New Jersey. He grew up a Knicks fan. It would make a lot of sense. And by the way, Rose was his agent. So it makes a lot of sense if that happens. What do you think in the offseason? If they got to extend Anthony Edwards, do they decide, you know what? Let's move a guy like Karl Anthony Towns and get as much as we can get back for him?
I think they're going to hold off on trading Towns until next year. I think you let Towns, because he missed a lot of games last year. So if we're talking about trade value, I think something that can get thrown back in the Timberwolves' face is, yeah, what are we going to do in the playoffs with this guy? He gets into foul trouble within the first 5 minutes of the game, and then we have to sit him for the next 3 quarters. And I think that's the sort of stuff that if you keep Cat, one, you're running back the core. So you're going to see just how good or how mediocre this team can be when it's everybody's on the floor together. And then you also give Cat a chance to increase that trade value. And he also means a lot to the franchise. So you take a look at, there was, that hit piece that came out where it was basically a character assassination out of nowhere on Karl Anthony Towns. And the way that the players reacted to that, you look at, Anthony Edwards, reportedly refusing to go on the TNT set because, Draymond Green was going to be there. And he didn't like how Draymond was talking about Rudy and about Cat. Those are the things that kind of go beyond what everybody sort of looks at when we talk about these trade rumors. Like, Cat means a lot to this team. He means a lot to the teammates. Look at those press conferences where it's Ant and Cat, and they're going back and forth, and there's just that chemistry there. That's something that I think you can't break that up this offseason. See how things go this season. And then worst case scenario, it's like, look, maybe the trade value comes down on Cat. That's the risk that you take. That's the gamble that you take. Tim Connolly, he's coming back for 1 more year. So really the future, you don't know what that's going to look like. So maybe, if I'm Connolly, I'm not making any drastic moves this off season. If I've got, this is maybe the last year of my contract, depending on what happens with his ownership situation, I'm not going to make any drastic moves, and I'm not going to trade Cat unless, you get an offer that absolutely blows you away. But even then, it's like the chemistry. That is why this team was so good this year. And that's what's been lacking in years past. Go back to the Jimmy Butler team. That was one where it's like Jimmy's going to will this young team into being good. And yeah, they got to the playoffs, but everybody hated themselves because they had to play with Jimmy Butler, and he makes you hate basketball to win. And that didn't work. You look at this season, you have that chemistry. You've got everybody playing together. Even when things got down in the conference finals against the Mavs, they win that one game. And the reason that you start believing, the reason that you're like, oh, maybe this is going to be a series, is you look at those press conferences, you look at the chemistry with Ant, with Cat, or with Cat and these other guys. Cat and the fans, he means a lot to Timberwolves fans. All of that can't go overlooked when you're talking about trying to trade him. And I don't think right now it's worth making a move to blow all of that up. I'd say kick the can down the road a little bit longer. But I will say, every time somebody asks me that, the Knicks are always the first team that I say. makes sense for.
It makes a lot of
for
sense. I mean, he comes from that New Jersey area, and I've heard stories that he would love to come home. He actually hangs out here a lot in the summertime. So, because his family and his mother passed away, a lot of family members passed away from COVID. So he loves coming back to New York and obviously enjoys himself over here. Hangs out with Carmelo Anthony off season as well. He trains with him. So very interesting. Very, very interesting.
And if the Knicks get, somehow find a way to get Devin Booker, then you're reuniting him with a Kentucky teammate. So there you go. You've got
I think it's too much. How are they going to do that? I mean, that's a lot of money they're going to be throwing away. Devin Booker and Carl Anthony, that's a lot.
Plus, OG Anunoby takes like a half salary pay cut.
Well, Anunoby would be gone. Anunoby would be gone.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, but then you have to trade for them. Booker,
Yeah.
what are you going to trade? You have 7 first-round draft picks in the next 3 years. So are you willing to trade 7? And I don't even think they're top 10 picks. Now, you could have Milwaukee's top 10 pick as long as it's not 1 through 4 next year. If Milwaukee falls out of the top 4, you can have Milwaukee's top 10 pick.
But I also think one of them is not guaranteed because it's the Pistons with the whole protection rule.
No, but the Milwaukee one is.
Yeah, so it might end up canceling out, but nevertheless, yeah, it's going to be a lot. So I wanted to go to another aspect of basketball. We were talking about it before you came on, is the whole Caitlin Clark thing. I saw you tweeted an article about that kind of thing. All the controversy with Pat McAfee and everyone, Angel Reese, everyone saying things about that.
It's disgusting what they're doing, man.
So
it really is.
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Despicable.
What are your thoughts to all of that and just her impact on the WNBA so far in the month that she's been in it?
The Caitlin Clark stuff is just absolutely phenomenal from a basketball standpoint.
Yes.
Caitlin, what she's doing on the floor, it's almost like I'm not coming up with this, but like I saw somebody compare Caitlin Clark fans to Taylor Swift fans. And like, if you would try to go against Taylor Swift, it's, game over. Like, change the Twitter handle, try to figure it out, because they're just going to try to come after you. And it does definitely feel like there's a cult of personality around Caitlin Clark that extends beyond what she's doing on the court. And that's what I'm interested in, is what's the psychology of that going to be as this continues to develop? Because she very much is the face of the WNBA. And you guys were saying it earlier, you're comparing it to LeBron James, and that's the comparison in my head too, where LeBron comes into the league, and I think a lot of the animosity is he was immediately anointed the king. He is the successor to Jordan. It's, nice couple of years, Kobe, that's great. This is LeBron's league. The kid, can't vote legally yet, but, this is, can't buy a drink for himself yet, but he's the face of the league. Thanks for everything. You're now second in line. And I think there's a lot of that going on right now with Caitlin Clark, where it's like she hasn't proven anything in the WNBA, but it is impossible to ignore what she is meant to the visibility of the game. And I think that that's the most important aspect that she's bringing right now, is that visibility to the WNBA. You guys were saying it again earlier. You're looking at these jerseys all around. You're seeing Jordans, you're seeing LeBrons, you're seeing Kobe's, you're seeing Curry's, you're seeing Caitlin Clark. It's like that is now becoming a normalized thing, which is awesome. And that is great. And that has everything to do with Caitlin Clark. It's the discourse around Caitlin Clark that I worry how much that is going to ultimately weigh on her, because she says she stays off of social media. She doesn't pay attention to any of this. But you look at, like, even in music, you see, like, Kurt Cobain is like the voice of the generation, and he is this guy who all of a sudden embodies something that maybe he didn't necessarily want to embody from the start. But once you reach that level of success and visibility, it's very easy for people to sort of hijack your standing and your cultural currency and try to cash it in somewhere else. And I'm seeing a lot of that around the discourse with Caitlin Clark. But on the court, I kind of like what the Chicago Sky are doing, because they're seeing, okay, we are never going to have that Caitlin Clark effect. Nobody is, they're not selling out when they go on the road because people want to see the Chicago Sky. So they're kind of taking the Detroit Pistons bad boys angle of, all right, if we can't be the heroes, we're going to be the villains. And it's kind of messy right now. I think they're trying to figure out exactly how to play the heel. But I think a lot of the WNBA right now is sort of in this new era. It's in the infancy of being in this new era where the visibility is so high, and it's becoming this different product than it was even a year ago. All of it's messy. And I think what the Sky are doing, it's kind of smart from a long-term perspective, because they want to be the villains, and they're maybe not likable, but they're forever going to be attached.
But Josh, that's what bothers me, is they're being the villain by using race. They're not doing anything else but bring it. And that's the problem right now. Who cares if she's white, black, Puerto Rican, or Asian? I said that. It doesn't matter what color she is. She's bringing new fans to the game. If you look at all the great players, Lisa Leslie, all the different great players that were in the WNBA, nobody brought the superstardom as what Caitlin Clark has done in 10 games. So she's a different style of player. Is she going to be Michael Jordan of the W? No, she's not that type of player, nor do I think she is. I did say before the WNBA season was, and I said that I wouldn't be surprised if she averaged 30 points a game. But again, she's got to get used to the WNBA. It's different. You're playing against the best of the best. And when it comes to all the college players. So I understand why everybody was saying there's no way she's scoring 30 points, but she's going to figure it out. It takes a couple of years to figure things out. She's that good. And I don't care what anybody says, well, her shooting percentage is horrible. Who the hell cares? If she is selling out every single game, that's all that matters to me, baby. And if I'm an owner of a team, a WNBA team, and I have Caitlin Clark coming, I'm going to put down a carpet, a red carpet, and say, hey, Caitlin, at the end of this carpet, I'll give you roses. I'll give you whatever you want. Just pack out my stadium. Am I right or wrong? It's all about making money. That's the whole thing. Bringing more revenue to the league so these girls don't have to go overseas at the end of the season and try to make more money.
Yeah, and I think that's also the sticking point, too, with a lot of the animosity towards Caitlin Clark is she's the one that's sort of driving the engine. And it's, it's a competitive sport, too. So even, within that, it's like, well, everybody wants to be the one because we are on the cusp of the WNBA absolutely exploding. Like, it's huge this year, but I think it's on the cusp of becoming even bigger than it is. And it's like, who wants to be the one to kick down the door? It's very clearly Caitlin Clark is going to be the one who's kicking down the door. You could argue the door's already been kicked down. So I think the perception around the WNBA is really, it's that feeds into the animosity. And I think where Angel Reese either messed up or was very calculated in being the villain is when she said, people want to watch me too. They're here to watch me. If she would have said us, that's different because then she's saying all of the WNBA, and then it is sort of a everybody versus Caitlin Clark situation. I think her saying, I've been trying to describe it as a royal me, or maybe she meant we, but that's the thing. It's that animosity. It's like Caitlin Clark. It's like, okay, well, she's the one. She's got the target on her back, so everybody's going to go after it. And that doesn't make it right.
Josh, you want to hear something else? You want to hear something else? I've been comparing Caitlin Clark to Steph Curry. That's what I've been comparing her to. And if you look at her numbers, she's averaging 15.6 points a game. She's averaging 5 assists per game and 6 rebounds. Steph Curry in his rookie season averaged 17.5 points per game, 5.9 assists per game, and about 7 rebounds per game. It's almost identical. And everybody loves Steph Curry. And what did they call Steph Curry? A three-point shooter. That's all he is. He's a three-point shooter. I'm one of those guys that have said that Steph Curry, he's made a living off of what he is as a three-point shooter. He's got a different game, too. He can rebound. He can pass. He can do all that other stuff. But people forget that because he's a great shooter. The same thing with Caitlin Clark. Everybody wants to throw her away and say, oh, she's just a three-point shooter. That's what Carter said. That's what Reese said. But she's more than that. And she's proven that she's more than that. When you look at her numbers and she is being compared, when you look at her numbers in 10 games, how many players have had over 150 points? What's the number, Speedy?
It was 150 points, 50 rebounds, 50 assists.
Only one player in NBA and WNBA history that's done that. So, and that's the one that's playing for
the New York Liberty.
The New York Liberty, Sabrina. So it's different. And I nobody's attacking Sabrina. Nobody's doing it because she's not selling out stadiums. Caitlin Clark is. That's why everybody's hating on her.
It's the visibility. She's got the target on her back. So, which again, that's why it's like you magnify everything that she does and it becomes this huge thing. That's why we're having the discourse. That's why everybody's talking about it. When it's, WNBA season's just started last month. So we've still got a couple more months left of this. So it's, the magnification of Caitlin Clark. I think it's because of that cult of personality that she brings. it's when we're talking about Caitlin Clark, I feel like we're talking about 5 or 6 different things. And if I've learned anything about people, it's sometimes people aren't the smartest people. So you can lose track of what, that main point is when you're talking about Caitlin Clark. That's the messiness of the discourse, but that's sports though.
Yes, before we let you go, and by the way, we are talking to FanSided Director of Content, Josh Hill, now a friend of the show. We love him. He's given us great time, great content, as always. Some of the great guests that we have on the show, and hopefully we get him on the show again. He's fantastic. Just to finish up with baseball, are you surprised the Yankees are as good as they are? Because I'm not. I said to everybody, they are not a wild card team. This is the best team in the American League. They're going to prove it this year. Even without Garrett Cole, Soto has changed everything for the New York Yankees. Not because he's better than Aaron Judge. I think you can argue right now it's either Aaron Judge or Soto that's going to win the American League MVP. I mean, both guys are just smashing the hell out of the ball. Why is it that the Yankees are playing such good baseball as you've seen so early in the season?
Well, as a Twins fan, I've gotten 8 games of just absolute, utter destruction. So I think this is the best game that the Twins have played against the Yankees, and they're just emptying the tank to claw out what will probably be a 2-run loss. But it's specifically in this series, my biggest takeaway, and sort of looking at the Yankees zooming out, you lost Garrett Cole, but the pitching has been something that has been kind of carrying the team. And that's the surprising part, because the Yankees are already this good. And it's like, yeah, you get Soto, you have Judge, you've got Stanton, you've got all of these pieces that it's like they should work. These are some of the best players in the league. Like, this should work. The pitching working as well as it's worked, that's the thing that I think is going to take them over the top, because they're going to get better. If Garrett Cole comes back, and when he comes back, they're going to get even better, because you're getting the reigning Cy Young winner back in your rotation that already has these guys that are doing the job. And look at Stroman. He was a guy who I thought the Twins were going to sign him in the offseason. I really wanted him to come in. Cubs fans were like, we don't want him back. He wasn't that great, whatever. It's like, look at him now with the Yankees. It's great. So that's the difference between last year and this year. I think it's that pitching, and then everything else is coming together.
Did you see what he did yesterday? I mean, he's 8-1 right now. He's the Cy Young winner. If the season were to end right now, this rookie, this guy who's 26 years old, came back from Tommy John surgery. The Yankees did not want to trade him. There were stories coming out that the Yankees were not willing to trade him because they saw the stuff that he had before he hurt himself. Now he's 8-1. His ERA in the last 7 games, his WHIP is under like 0. And his ERA is what? 1.774 or something like that. The last guy that had an ERA like this in 9 games was Jacob deGrom. Okay. It's ridiculous, the numbers that he's putting up right now. If he continues doing this, I mean, the Yankees have him, they have Cole. And by the way, for all the Yankee fans that didn't like the Carlos Rodon move, boy, oh boy, when his shoulder's healthy, he's pitching pretty damn good. So kiss my rear end for all you Yankee haters that didn't like the Carlos Rodon. What a steal. Thank you, Brian Cashman.
Carlos Rodon. I was going to say Rodon. Look at him the other night, too. It's like, man, the Yankees pitching is just, it's ridiculous. And I'll say this, controversial take from somebody who's not a Yankees fan, baseball's better when the Yankees are good. Baseball's more interesting when the Yankees are good. And we have a mutual hatred of the Astros. So I would like nothing more. If the Twins, if it's not going to be their year, I would like nothing more than to watch the Yankees absolutely destroy the Astros. I need that in my life.
They got the Dodgers this weekend. I can't wait until that series. I might be going to Sunday's game. I might be going to the night game. I don't have tickets yet, but I'm thinking about, I was telling Brittany, let's go.
Are you going to hold up a poster that say Ohtani was guilty?
No, I'm going to sit right behind Soto, because for the last time I was at a Yankee game last year, it was San Diego and the Yankees, and the Yankee fans over there, the bleacher creatures, were screaming at him, calling all these names at him. And I said, you guys are idiots. This guy could be a Yankee next year, and you're blowing smoke up his ass. And now he's a Yankee, and he's right now an MVP candidate. What are the Yankee fans doing now? Calling his name. So shame on the Yankee fans. Carlos Rodon, Juan Soto, absolutely. And I'm a Yankee fan. I can't stand the Yankee fans, okay? They're a bunch of idiots. They don't know what the hell they're talking about half the time. So that's just me speaking the truth. Josh, we love you. You're fantastic. You do such great work for FanSided. You're the director of content. Maybe you should write about us, man. I mean, come on, Josh. Give us some love. I mean,
that's after the second guest appearance.
You know what? We might just do that. We want you to come on back on the show. Why not?
This is great. This is awesome. You guys are awesome.
Well, thank you. You're awesome too. Your content, everything that you guys do over there at FanSided is fantastic. From football to baseball to everything that you guys do, it is amazing. And keep up the good work. You will be hearing from us very, very soon. I told Speedy, let's get you on again very soon as the football season's right around the corner.
Absolutely, anytime. Happy to come on, guys.
Josh Hill, director of content for FanSided, fantastic personality, knows his stuff. And listen. He's a Twins fan, he's a Timberwolves fan, he's a Minnesota fan, but he knows his stuff. Buccaneers too.
And he works for the Bucs now.
Yeah, the Buccaneers, man.
I was actually saying,
I love Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
I do. I root for Baker all the time. I rooted for him when he played college ball when he was running naked. You know.
Yeah, I remember.
I love Baker Mayfield. Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into a lot more. As Micah Parsons says, he wants to be the highest paid player, not a quarterback. And he says, if the Cowboys don't want to give me the money, you can trade me, send me to the Steelers. So when we come back, we'll get into that. But first, Tommy Scoops with our Sports Minute.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
As promised, of course, I am back for another Sports Loudmouth Minute Report. As Tommy Scoops is going to give you all the rundown. We're in the NFL. Dolphins, who haven't won a postseason game since 2000, Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel has used the playoff drought to motivate players ahead of next season, saying it will help the team go above and beyond. Other NFL news, the Ravens veteran kicker, Justin Tucker, is excited for the new kickoff rule. After announcing a modified kickoff rule back in March, Tucker said he is ready to start tackling. And lastly, the Bills, who have signed Olympic wrestler Gable Stevenson earlier this week, will be playing defensive lineman. Veteran linebacker Von Miller said he is mentoring Stevenson, even calling him a natural athlete. Switching now into scoops and scores, we're currently in the NBA. Minnesota and the Yankees, with the Yankees having a 7-4 lead. Dodgers right now have 11-4 lead over Pittsburgh. Atlanta has a 5-2 lead over Washington, with Cincinnati having a 5-4 lead over Chicago, and Colorado having a 1-0 lead over St. Louis. Currently, right now, as the NBA Finals are currently going on, Dallas has a 1-point lead, 13-12 over the Boston Celtics. Currently, all the time I have for you guys right now, kicking it back to the boys for the continuation of the Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey every single Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And for everybody to know, Fish, you see all these great graphics that he's posting up, all the videos. That is our friend, Aaron Fishman, our executive producer, doing what he does best, adding the content, all the different stuff that you're seeing on the screens, on YouTube, on Facebook, on all the platforms that we posted. You are watching all the work that Aaron Fishman puts in, and then obviously Tommy Scoop. So don't forget, just because we're right now with the Sports Loudmouth, me and Speedy, these guys are a big advocate of what our show is and what our show is going to be in the future. And then we're going to have the Veluzzi Factor next week, adding some high school sports, New York high school sports to our show. So stay tuned for that.
Good for you.
Well, it's good for both of us, as we all know.
It's good for both of us.
Speedy, is it good for you?
Talk to the soundboard.
I'm talking to you.
And the soundboard responded.
But I'm
gross.
Is it gross?
No, it's not gross.
Is it gross? Are you do you have a gross feeling on Veluzzi joining us?
No.
Then what is
disturbing behavior?
Is it disturbing?
No.
behavior? You just said that.
No, I didn't.
The
soundboard said it.
No,
I am a disturbing person.
I am a disturbing person. I've lost a lot of confidence.
Yeah, you've now called my robotic alter ego that I didn't create.
I have lost.
AI has taken it way too far.
Robotic ego.
Apparently.
Could you imagine a robot like Speedy? I mean, a robotic Speedy walking around.
Well, if
He'd be doing like the robot, like that. Oh. Give us your robot.
whatever that one came out to be, it's malfunctioning.
Well, it's always. He's such an idiot. He's such an idiot.
Men in Black memory eraser. Perfect. There you go. It's back. The robotic.
That's the best one. Men in Black.
That is much better than the Poo-Tang Pie one.
Not embracing it. Don't share a Poo-Tang Pie with the Rock.
The Fort Worth Star Telegram reports that Micah Parsons wants to surpass Justin Jefferson as the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. Nick Bosa is the largest contract right now for a defensive player, making $34 million per year. Cowboys writer Clarence Hill Jr. reports that Parsons has mentioned the Steelers as one of the teams he has always wanted to play for in his career because he grew up in Pennsylvania. Parsons had 14 sacks last season and led the league with a 35% pressure rate and 103 quarterback pressures. The Cowboys currently have about $12.3 million in cap space and still have contract questions about Dak Prescott and C.D. Lamb. It's so very interesting. I think Dak Prescott's gone. No matter what happens this year, even if they won the Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot see Dak Prescott coming back to the Dallas Cowboys. Not because I don't think Dallas and Dak are a good fit. I think Dak is a perfect fit for the Dallas Cowboys. He's not a winning quarterback, but who is? How many winning quarterbacks right now are in the NFL? 5? 4 at best? There's not many of them. And Dak is a top 10 quarterback, but if you gotta get rid of one if you're going to pay the other two. And right now, CeeDee Lamb, to me, going into the season, you can argue it's either Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb as the two best wide receivers. And I told that to the Beeve when they drafted CeeDee Lamb at number 17 when he fell to them. I believe that CeeDee Lamb was going to be the elite, one of the elitist wide receivers we've seen in a very long time. And the Cowboys, with Michael Irvin and some of the great wide receivers they've had over the years, CeeDee Lamb could be the best. When I look at the Cowboys and the position that they're in, Micah Parsons is a great talent. There's no question that he is. He's one of the most talented defensive players right now in the NFL. And he speaks a lot on his podcast. We know what he said on his podcast about Zach Wilson, that the Jet fans are hard on him, that you got to give him a chance. But the Jet fans gave him 3 years. It didn't work. And now he's playing as a backup quarterback or a third-string quarterback right now for the Denver Broncos. You look at the position Micah Parsons is going to put the Cowboys in. When you look at all these defensive players that are getting these big contracts, Nick Bosa, Jones just got a big contract in the offseason. You're talking about a guy that if he puts up another 15, 16 sacks, I mean, he's in a position right now that he could be making probably around 45 million a year. When you look at that and you looking at the quarterbacks and what they're making, the average quarterback right now in the NFL is making between 45 and 48 million dollars. So if you're going to pay Micah Parsons that kind of money, you're going to put yourself in cap hell. And that's why you sit here today, as good as Micah Parsons is, you have to sit back and wonder, is Micah Parsons the guy that you want to pay? Or do you want to trade Micah Parsons and get as much as you can back and rebuild this organization and this team? This team is not ready to win, even going into the season this year with the talent that they have. They're in cap hell right now because of Jerry Jones. Again, Dak Prescott wants a new contract. CeeDee Lamb's going to want to get paid, and so is Micah Parsons. You're talking about arguably your 3 best players that want to get paid, and what you do, you bring in Zeke Elliott in the offseason because he's the cheapest, and you paid him a ton of money over the years. It's a big question right now. And if I was a Cowboy fan right now, is Micah Parsons a game changer? Is he going to change the game? Is he going to win you a Super Bowl? That's the question. Is he a Michael Strahan? Is he a Justin Tuck? I'm just mentioning Giants. Is he one of those guys? Is he an Aaron Donald? Is he one of those guys that are, because in the playoffs over the last 2 years, he's disappeared. Teams have double teamed him, triple teamed him, kept him, and they move him all over. And by the way, his offensive coordinator and Dan Quinn is no longer there. So you have a different defensive coordinator now. There's a lot of questions on how they're going to run their defense. Are they going to run their defense through him, which they've been doing over the last couple of years? These are all questions that only time will tell. And is he going to be happy with the new defense? I don't know. And we're going to have to see how the Cowboys are going to work under their new defensive coordinator. So I know you sit here today and you're going to say, well, Micah Parsons is worth it. You're going to, what kind, if you look at Micah Parsons, is he not a top 3, top 4 defensive player? Yes, in the regular season. In the playoffs, he's not. He's not. Last year, how many sacks did he have in the, 2 games that he played in the playoffs?
I think just a half.
He had a half a sack. You want to pay this guy $45 million if he doesn't show up in the playoffs? And again, we could go back and talk about players in many different sports. They're great in a regular season. Aaron Judge, say whatever you want. He's not a good playoff player. He's not. You go through all the Yankees right now and the roster of the Yankees, besides Soto, who is a good playoff player, half of those guys are not. You go, DJ LeMahieu, is he a good playoff player? And since he's been a Yankee, no. Gleyber Torres, he's up, he's down, he's up and down. I'm just mentioning.
He was good in the COVID year, but that was that.
But that's what I'm saying. He's up and he's down. You need a consistency. You need consistent guys. You know why Tom Brady is considered the GOAT? You know why Joe Montana, some people can argue, is the greatest quarterback of all time? Because when it came down to the playoffs, they showed up at them. Some of these guys don't do it. Michael Irvin showed up in the playoffs. Emmitt Smith showed up in the playoffs. Troy Aikman showed up in the playoffs. And that's why they won 3 Super Bowls in the 90s. And their team was just massively talented. I mean, with Deion Sanders and all the different offensive linemen that they've had. So, but to me, you have to look at this. Is it worth? You see what happened right now with Kirk Cousins and Minnesota. They had to choose one or the other. Now they overpaid Justin Jefferson. Now, how are they going to fill in the spots that they're going to help this team move forward to win a Super Bowl? That's the question. And maybe the question will be answered at the end of the season or maybe the season after when they're going to have to move them.
Right. And you also look at all the losses they had on defense when it comes to their talent in the regular season from last year. Like they lost 7 guys in free agency. Leighton Vander Esch retired. And then all of a sudden you're now bringing in a new defensive coordinator. Now, I know you mentioned that you do like Mike Zimmer as defensive coordinator. He has done well in the past, but his style is very different than what you saw with Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn kind of had to adjust the defense from what he was in Atlanta and try to make that kind of thing work with that. We'll see if Zimmer does that same kind of thing. But you also mentioned it with like how teams have decoyed Micah Parsons. Good offenses have decoyed Micah Parsons against them, even in the regular season too. Like the 49ers dominate the Cowboys because they're able to run away from Micah Parsons. They're able to put motion away from Micah Parsons and make it work. And we've seen the Eagles do that same kind of thing too. And I think that kind of thing makes it a very big question mark to try to give him that kind of money. Because like you said, the Cowboys are very cash strapped as it is. They're probably only going to be able to keep maybe 2 out of 3 of those types of guys, if even. And that's assuming they could try to shed all these other guys. We're going to talk about Zack Martin later. That'll be a chunk of that. They lost Tyron Smith in the offseason. So they got to figure out this offensive line. And they've lost so much on defense already. They're not going to be thought of as that powerhouse team anymore in the NFC.
If I were the Cowboys right now, I understand, Keith, he is a game changer, but he's not a game changer in the playoffs. No. And it's proven in the last 2 years, he's not a game changer. Even against San Francisco 2 years ago, he wasn't a game changer. When you need Micah Parsons to show up in the game, he disappears in the big game. So in the regular season, yeah. And I'll say that about J.J. Watt too. J.J. Watt was a good regular season defensive lineman. In the playoffs, not too good. And that's, again, when people are trying to compare some of the best, Aaron Donald, how many playoff seasons has he had? He in the first part of his career, he didn't really play a lot of playoffs. It took a while for him to get there, but when he needed to make a play in the playoffs, especially in the Super Bowl in the second half, he was the best player, and that's what you expect. If you're going to get paid the kind of money that you want to get paid, and you want to be the difference maker, you want to say that you want to be the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, well, you got to show up in the big game. And Micah, you have not done that, and until you do that, it's not going to happen. And I'm going to tell you this right now: if the Cowboys are smart, Micah still has another 2 years left on his rookie contract.
He got the 1 year and then a 5th year option.
So he has 2 years left on his contract. I do not extend him until his 5th year. And if he's having these 2 really good seasons, if you can get a boatload of draft stock for him, I trade him, because he's already talking about going to another team. So that just tells you that he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, and you also look at the state of the Cowboys when it comes to two different trends with the quarterbacks and the wide receivers too. Like we were talking about it yesterday or on Tuesday with Jim Cerny with hockey. Like it's hard to be in the middle and be able to develop that kind of talent and get that top guy. Now, the Cowboys are better than an average team. They're a good team, but they're not going to be able to draft a quarterback and hope to be able to develop him right away if Dak Prescott does walk. And like I know you mentioned,
he's definitely going to walk.
Yeah, you mentioned last week that you think Miami could go after him. There's going to be teams that are going to be very interested in him because of that. And CeeDee Lamb, same kind of thing. Justin Jefferson just got paid. Are they going to make CeeDee Lamb that type of player? And are they going to, if they let him walk, the Cowboys, they have stretches where they have trouble developing wide receivers. I know they've had great wide receivers. Like Des Bryant was good in his peak 5 years, but he didn't have the longevity. Michael Irvin, like you said, Hall of Famer. But they've had stretches where they've had like very mediocre number 2 wide receivers, and they make it work with some of the other guys, like the running backs and the offensive line they're great with. But it's a passing league. You need top wide receivers.
It hasn't proven in my eyes where we see this team with CeeDee Lamb that they can win with just CeeDee Lamb. He is the only target that they have in the big game. Right. And Dak Prescott, you could see he's forcing the ball into areas where he's putting himself in harm's way. And that's why he gets, especially in that game against the Green Bay Packers, why he threw too many interceptions. He was forcing the ball to CeeDee Lamb. It doesn't work, and you need other weapons. And they haven't drafted very good at the wide receiver position. They really haven't. You could say whatever you want. All you Cowboy fans can make those arguments. They haven't. They got lucky with CeeDee Lamb because he fell to 17 when he was top 5 prospect. Right. Thank you, Beef, because I told you he was going to be as good as he was. But again, you have to look at this. You have to understand the position. And he's not going to the Steelers because they're going to have to pay Watt, and Watt is going to want. He just got an extension.
He already got paid. He's already getting paid like 33 now.
Yeah, but he's going to want even more because if he sees all these other guys and he's putting up those numbers every single year. Remember, he had 20 something sacks the other 2 years ago.
Right, he was so close to the record.
Yeah, so I expect TJ Watt's better than JJ, and he's that good of a player. He's been remarkable. I expect him to ask for more. As soon as somebody else gets paid, he's going to say, you know what, I'm the best defensive player in the league. I should get paid more. And that's what these guys are doing. That's what these wide receivers are doing. It's not good enough. When somebody gets more money, quarterbacks too. You look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow right now is making the most money right now out of a quarterback yearly. So what's going to happen next? When Patrick Mahomes got a $500 million contract, he just got it. I think he got a new contract, but Patrick Mahomes is doing what Tom Brady is doing. Right. He's sitting back. He doesn't need to make the money. He wants to win championships now. And at the end of his career, he'll take as many contracts, as much money as he possibly can because of his talent and what he could do on the football field. So,
and we've seen them restructure so many things for other defensive players as well. That's why the Chiefs have been able to bring so many guys in. And the one that just did it for this offseason was Chris Jones. And Chris Jones got the biggest contract for a defensive tackle. And they're always going to be like that, both with edge rushers and defensive tackles. Look at 2 New York teams. Dexter Lawrence and Quentin Williams both got big contracts. So there's going to be bidding wars with these premium positions.
I think the Jets are going to regret that contract.
Maybe they will. But the Cowboys now have 3 dilemmas at premium positions.
And I like Quentin Williams. Yeah, I like him. He's
course.
a sensational player. He's one of the top 3 defensive linemen right now in the NFL. And now you bring in another big-time defensive player on the edge, who, by the way, is going to want a lot of money too. So how are the Jets going to negotiate that deal where it's going to work when Aaron Rodgers is probably going to want to be extended if he wants to play another 2 or 3 more years? I mean, he already said he wants to play till he's 44, 45. Right. He's 41 this year. So that means he wants to play another 3 years. So how are they going to pay him if he's still at the top of his game? There's a lot of questions on how these contracts are going to work out. Now, the Amazon deal is definitely going to give them more money. I think it's like $16 million. So it does benefit certain teams, but not all. The Cowboys right now are in salary hell right now. So even with that $16 million, they're taking that $16 million and throwing it back into the salary hell that they have. So a lot of questions. Fish, I want to know your opinion because obviously you're a football guy and you're a Giant fan. Micah Parsons, do you pay him in 2 years when he becomes a free agent, or do you decide, hey, you know what, CeeDee Lamb is more a priority. Let's give it to CeeDee and let's start looking for a quarterback of the future, or bring in another veteran quarterback like Dacko in the near future?
So I've been a big fan of what the Giants did this offseason. I don't think you were as big of a fan as the Brian Burns move. But the reason why, we don't know if he's going to be as good as I hope he will be, or what he probably will be, realistically, or he could be a bust. But we know Micah Parsons is the real deal. The Giants could have had Micah Parsons, decided not to get him and do the old trade back scenario to end up with Kadarius Toney and Evan Neal with the pick they got extra. So it's really difficult for me to think about Micah Parsons objectively. I wish he was on the Giants. I wish we never had to make this move to get Burns, because this is a guy you pay. You have to pay one of the top 5 edge rushers in the league, and he is for sure one of those guys. He can also play linebacker off the ball some, but he's much better as an edge rusher. He can be moved around a little bit, maybe not as to the extent as a guy like J.J. Watt has done in his career we talked about a few weeks ago. He's still one of those guys you have to pay. He's an edge rusher. You build from the line out, and that's what good teams do. You have to do it. Look at what the Giants did when they won their Super Bowls. It was all about edge rushers. You have to get another one. Get Tuck. Get Kiwanuka. Keep adding guys that can get to the quarterback. Nothing matters more. You have a great receiver, but they're a good downfield player, but the quarterback has no time to let the route develop because you have pass rush in your face or no offensive line. What does it matter if you have a shiny piece like CeeDee Lamb anyway? Go pay Parsons.
I think that Parsons is a good player, but is he going to show up in the playoffs? And the Cowboys right now, they're in salary hell. So you could say, I see Keith saying spot on fish, and that's fine. I disagree. I'm going to look at the big picture right now. The Cowboys are right now in a position where you can get a lot back from Micah Parsons. You can get maybe 3 first-round draft picks. The Cowboys right now, they don't have enough to fill in the spots that they have. They're like bringing in old guys like Zeke Elliott because they couldn't go after a top end running back. They wanted everything that I've heard, they wanted Derrick Henry, but they couldn't give Derrick Henry the $8 or $9 million that he was getting. Instead, they paid Zeke Elliott $2 million a year, on a team friendly deal because they can't afford it. And now, who would you have to decide? Are you going to sign CeeDee Lamb, who's going to want probably, I don't know, 150 million, 160 million because of what Justin Jefferson got? Or are you going to sign Micah Parsons? You can't sign both of them. You can't sign it, especially if you decide, hey, you know what? Dak Prescott's a quarterback. We're going to sign him. You're not going to be able to sign both of them. So who do you sign, Fish? Do you sign CeeDee Lamb or do you sign Micah Parsons? Because CeeDee Lamb has shown up in the playoffs and Micah Parsons has not.
Well, the Cowboys are just destined to never show up in the playoffs. So it doesn't really matter who they sign because that's their curse with Jerry Jones and his family. We're going to take it over after he's an older man now, God bless him and all that sort of, I guess. But, the real thing that I concerned is just getting to the quarterback. It's all about getting to the quarterback. If you have a guy that can do that, you can start there and build your team up from scratch if you have to. CeeDee Lamb, you can't trust receivers. They're all divas. He's definitely one as well. You pay him $37 million a season. Wasn't it something like Jefferson was around 35 per season? It's going to be more as the cap goes up, whatever deal you have to pay him. Just pay the guy that disrupts the game. And that is the guy. Now, CeeDee Lamb had a great year, but pay the defensive guy, man.
You're going to pay the guy that doesn't show up in the big game. That's great.
I think it was, remember what happened with DeMarcus Lawrence? I put more of it on him. There was this whole story of
contract
falling off with the contract. I think there's a bad culture on the line there.
Aaron Donald, if you look at that defensive line when they went to the Super Bowl, it wasn't that great. I mean, they had Leonard, but that defense was really strictly run through him. And everybody knew that Aaron Donald was the creator of the havoc that he causes, and they still couldn't stop him. But guess what? Teams have figured out how to stop Micah Parsons with the great Dan Quinn as his defensive coordinator. So if Micah Parsons can't do it again in the playoffs and can't get him over the hump, this has been one of the best teams in the NFC. And yes, in the regular season, they put up the numbers, but in the playoffs, they do not. They lost against a Green Bay Packer team. Let's be honest, their offensive line, old. That's what they were. You're going to tell me that Micah Parsons couldn't cause havoc on Jordan Love? He couldn't even touch Jordan Love. And that tells you that he doesn't show up in the big game. Why am I going to pay a guy that doesn't show up there? You're a Giant fan. Michael Strahan, say whatever you want about him. regular season or not. He was a great regular season player, but when it came down to the playoffs, he was a different player. He was a game changer. So was Justin Tuck. Justin Tuck wasn't a great regular season player, but in the playoffs, he showed up. You're talking about a Micah Parsons guy that, yes, he's a sensational player. Yes, his numbers definitely stand out in a regular season. Go look at his second half numbers. His second half numbers are nowhere close to his first half numbers. And when he plays good offensive lines that know how to defend him or, push him away from getting to the quarterback, he completely disappears in the game. So I disagree. I'm trading Micah Parsons. He don't want to be there, and I'm not trading. I'm not keeping him. Have you seen CeeDee Lamb come out and say, pay me or trade me? I haven't heard anything of that.
Oh, yeah, but you never know with the way the wide receivers could be. But, Fish, you also bring up a good point, too, of the difference of quantity and quality. And I don't think the Cowboys have had enough of the quality as well. You're talking about the Giants, the way they stack.
You're telling me, Speedy, you get 3 first-round draft picks from Micah Parsons. You can't find a pass rusher.
No. I think I would.
You don't have to be an elite, but
I would make that trade too. I don't think any pass rusher is going to get 3 first-round picks.
Teams, I do. You don't think Micah Parsons, a team would give 2 to 3 first-round draft picks?
I don't think if Khalil Mack did at the time, I don't think anyone's going to at that point. Khalil Mack, when he got traded, was at the top.
Khalil Mack is old.
Khalil Mack was when he was traded.
Khalil Mack was 27, 28 years old. This guy's what? 24? If you trade Micah Parsons right now, you could easily get 2 first rounds and maybe, you don't want to get 3, a second and a third.
Okay. But what Fish was bringing up was a big point to it. The problem that the Cowboys have had over the years as well is not bringing up to bring depth around those key players as well. And we talked about with the wide receivers. They've never had, even when they had top wide receivers, who was that second guy to go along with that? Like teams have stacked those positions well. The Rams did it with the wide receivers and then, like you said, the defensive line. The Eagles have done it with pass rushers. They're drafting them a year early to develop them. They've done it with offensive linemen. The Cowboys have not done that kind of thing. And when we had RJ Ochoa on the show too, he was mentioning too, like Jerry Jones' own ego gets in the way too. And they wait for these markets to explode and try to set the market, and it's not the case. And now they have to give top market value to Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and probably Micah Parsons if they're going to keep all those guys. And I think they're only going to keep probably 2 out of 3 of them now.
I think they keep 1 out of 2, 1 out of 3. Because you're going to have to overpay. You have to pay other players. You got to fill those roster spots. How are you going to pay these guys? Micah's going to want 140. CeeDee's going to want 140. And you could argue both of them are going to be fighting for the biggest contract. Sure. And then Dak's going to want $60 million a year. So there's no way they're going to be able to fit all. They're going to fit 1 out of those 3 players. That's it. They're going to have to choose. And if you think Micah Parsons, good luck. I'm going after the guy that shows up in the playoffs, and that's CeeDee Lamb. He's a game-changing wide receiver. That's the way I'm going. I'm not going to a pass rusher that doesn't show up in the big game, and it actually disappears. Cowboys guard Zack Martin told Dallas Morning News that he is this could be his up-and-coming final season as an NFL player. He says it isn't 100% guaranteed, but is a strong possibility. Martin has 1 more year left of his 6-year, $84 million contract and 1 more void year that would cost the Cowboys $38 million of dead cap space if he goes elsewhere. Martin was disappointed in the Cowboys not giving him an extension last training camp as well. Martin is 34 years old and has been an all-pro and pro ball player 9 out of the 10 seasons. I mean, this guy is going to go down as one of the greatest guards of all time. He's that good. I mean, he's special. I remember when he was drafted. I remember when Giant fans were pushing to go after him over Odell Beckham. And then when they brought Odell Beckham, I was like, Zack Martin, who? But now Odell Beckham, he's been, he had 3 good years and completely disappeared. And this guy has been the dominant guard, one of the top 3 most dominant guards in all of the NFL. I mean, the Colts have 1. I mean, the Jets have 1 when healthy. I mean, there's very few of them. And guys that can get into a game and completely change a game for the better. So it's a shame. I don't understand the Cowboys. I believe that the Cowboys could not and shouldn't extend a guy that's going last year was 33 years old. Even though he's still a great player, I still think that he will play elsewhere besides the Cowboys. He's going to win a Super Bowl. He's never won a Super Bowl. I think he wants the opportunity to win one. He's still good. He's still an elite player. And by the way, he was the only one that actually stayed healthy last year. Yeah. So, I mean, he could still play at the top of his game. I think they're quite a few teams like the Kansas City Chiefs that could use another player on that line. Maybe the Jets. Miami. I mean, there are teams right now fighting to win a Super Bowl in the next 1 or 2 years. That you had a guy like Zack Martin. You're talking about a completely game changer for your offensive line. So I'm not surprised you're hearing this story. And Zach, he has nothing else to prove. I mean, you look at these numbers. I mean, 9 out of 10 years as an all-pro, Pro Bowl player, that's Aaron Donald numbers as an offensive lineman. Aaron Donald is a first-team all-pro, first-team Hall of Famer. This guy is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer too. I mean, it's unbelievable the type of player this guy has turned out to be. So I don't think he's retiring, but I do not believe he'll be a Cowboy next year.
No, I don't either, because you also look at their cycle. Like I was talking about with the defensive line just now, they haven't drafted enough in quantity. They always draft a lot of offensive linemen in quantity, though. They drafted one in the first round this year with Tyler Guyton. They drafted one 2 years ago with Tyler Smith, and they turn them out very well. So I think Jerry Jones, unless it was going to be thought of as like one of his favorites, one of his boys, I think that decision would have been made last year, and he would have gotten that contract. Chris Lidstrom for the Falcons got the biggest contract for a guard, $20 million a year, and Zack Martin wanted more because he felt he deserved it. And Jerry Jones normally gives those kinds of things out, but he has his favorites. He likes to pick and choose, like you were talking about earlier. He brought back Ezekiel Elliott after he regrets giving him the contract that he did, but that's one of his favorites. I don't think you're really seeing that kind of thing.
He got him on the cheap.
Of course.
That's the only reason why he brought Zeke in. He had nobody else that he could bring in. No veteran player wanted to come here, and Pollard was just an absolute bust last year. And I know all the Cowboy fans wanted to throw Pollard to the Wolves, but guess what? That offensive line wasn't healthy all season long. And Dak was running for his dear life. I don't care what anybody says about Dak Prescott. You have to look at the big picture. If Jerry can't add players and add weapons to help him, how do you expect him to be successful? And I could say the same about Zack Martin. Zack Martin has really been the only real healthy offensive lineman for that Cowboy team. I mean, the Jets brought in Smith this year, but the guy last year was the first year in a very long time that he played, 13, 14 games. Usually he only plays 8 or 9 games and he gets hurt. It's a health issue. And Zack Martin, for a guy that's 34 years old, stays healthy, plays hard, and he's a gritty player. That's the guy that I want. And if I'm a Super Bowl contending team next year, because it won't be this year, unless you're at the trade deadline and the Cowboys are just they're just a complete bust and you want to blow them up. Then you look at that. Fish, you were an offensive lineman. You're an offensive line coach. Your thoughts to Zack Martin. Do you see Zack Martin going elsewhere after this year? Because I obviously wants to win a Super Bowl.
It's going to be a health thing for him. It's one of those things where if the guy still feels okay, he'll be able to do it. This is his first year outside of the COVID year when I believe he got COVID, that he was under 90% of the snaps in a season. He had 100% 3 times in his career. He was in the high 90s for most of his career. He never came off the field. The clips that I was playing, if you're watching along with us, and I recommend you guys come and see some of these things. I try to pick the ones that are for what we're talking about. This guy just positioned his body better than most every guard you see. He could tell what the other player was doing and would be able to wall him off. He didn't always have the kill shot like a guy like Quentin Nelson does. That's another great player these days, a little younger. But this guy just had the greatest understanding of the game. He was great out in the screen game, kind of like in the same way Kelsey was. He wasn't as fast as Kelsey, but he was real powerful. It was kind of ridiculous that they were able to have Smith and Martin at the same time and have a balanced line for that long. I'm hoping now that this is the end of him, this is just going to be the downfall of the Cowboys. This is what they don't do. They don't pay Zack Martin. They don't pay the guy that has been giving them that infrastructure over the years. They pay the shiny piece. They pay that shiny piece.
Fish, he's 33 years old. I understand what he is and what he has done, but you don't pay a guy, you don't extend him for a 3-year deal at the age of 33 when, early in his career, he has fought injury. I think that you sit back and you wonder, are the Cowboys, are they winning, a Super Bowl in the next 1 or 2 years? I don't think they are. And that's why I think when you look at Micah Parsons, if he's telling you that if he wants to be traded, then oblige him, give him what he wants, because you're not winning. You're not winning with this team. Right now, the NFC East, it's only going to get better. I'm just speaking the truth. Are you beating the Eagles this year? You're probably not. You're not beating the Eagles with the talent that they have over there. They needed to clean up their secondary. They did that in the draft.
Unless Kellen Moore sabotages their offense.
They're not. I expect them to be as good as they've been over the last 3 or 4 years. And their defense is just going to be older and more talented this year with Carter healthy and the team that they have around them. So I expect this team to be explosive. Also, Washington's going to be better this year. They're not going to be a contender, but they're going to be better. And even the Giants. I think the Giants will be better this year because I don't know what's the whole Saquon Barkley thing and what that's going to be turned out to be. But I think Malik Neighbors is a beast. And I think he's going to open up the field, something that the Giants haven't had since Odell Beckham. So I'm not saying the Giants are making the playoffs. They're a 6-7 win team at best, but they're going to be better. The Cowboys are not going to go into these games and just completely just run all over teams in their division. Last year, what did they win? I think they won
5-1 in division.
5-1 they're not going 5-1 in division this coming year.
Yeah, Quinn knows them too. Like that could be an advantage for Washington.
Yeah, they're not going, and he knows how to stop Micah Parsons too. So I'm telling you right now, if I were the Cowboys, I'd start looking at pieces to move and try to rebuild this team more sooner than later. I still believe that Jerry Jones thinks that the clock is still running for a championship. I think their championship window has closed the last 2 years. And it's not because of Dak Prescott and his development. It's not his fault. It's just because of the money that they've thrown into players that they didn't need to throw it into. And then when they did, they couldn't stay healthy.
And who says that Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy might not be attached to the hip either? Because we know Jerry Jones wanted Bill Belichick in the offseason.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy right now. Another crazy story. Colts center Ryan Kelly said he's absolutely against the NFL expanding the 18-game schedule. Kelly came at Roger Goodell saying he should stop talking until he's the one putting on the pads. Kelly is the lead NFLPA representative for the Colts and the longest tenure member of their team. Kelly is also the vice president of the NFLPA executive committee and has been one of the guys pushing for the NFL increasing awareness of CTE and the concussions. The NFL's recent proposal consists of 18 games in the regular season, 2 games in the preseason, and 2 bye weeks. The NFLPA has not officially signed the deal, hoping for more money and higher overall salary cap in the process. And they will get it because that's what's going to happen. When you hear more money and more salary, owners are going to look at that and players are going to look at that as well because there's going to be more money, more revenue. And that's what it's all about, is making more money. And that's why Roger Goodell is agreeing to this. He wants it. And I agree with Ryan Kelly. Roger Goodell is fine with this because he's going to make more money. Roger Goodell's making what, $54 million this coming year, while these players are putting their bodies in their heads and their knees on the line. And he's not even stepping on the field. And the only time he steps on the field is when he hands off the trophy. So if I was Ryan Kelly, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to speak to the players. I'm going to say what I feel. And I'm going to say, listen, I don't agree with this. I don't think it's safe for us. I don't think it's going to put us in a better position. How much more money are we bringing in? I mean, as players, is it going to give us $2-3 million each extra? If it is, then I'm going to agree to it. If it's only going to give more money to the superstar players, then why am I going to agree to that? There's a lot of possibilities on how this could work. But you see, Roger Goodell is not looking for it to help, the players and make the players richer. He's trying to make the owners richer. He's trying to make the league more richer so it can make him more richer in his pockets. He doesn't care about the players. He tried to push the CTE story under the rug and try to ruin people's careers. And how many NFL players have died from CTE or killed people because of CTE, because of the injuries and the head injuries that they got on a football field. It would worry me right now if I was an NFL player and I'm sitting here today and they're trying to figure out, well, we're going to do a new kickoff rule because it's going to help out. It's going to protect players from getting those big time injuries off of, special teams. But then you're going to add an 18th game where it's going to open up more opportunities for them to hurt their knees, their Achilles, pecs, shoulders, back, and where they could be permanently injured for the rest of their lives. And you've seen guys, there are guys, sensational players that have had back injuries on the football field, it ends their careers. Neck injuries that end their careers. Knee injuries, Achilles injuries. But you're sitting here and it's all you care about is the money that you're bringing in and the money that you're making for the league instead of worrying about the players and taking care of the players, because the players are what puts fannies in the seats. That's my opinion. And I think Ryan Kelly's absolutely right.
And Ryan Kelly also has dealt with a lot with the Colts too. He almost retired himself too because of all the injuries and concussions that he's had in his career. And think about, he played with 2 offensive linemen that retired earlier than expected. Jack Mewhort, who was a good left guard for them, I think he retired at 28 or something like that. And then Anthony Costanzo just retired at 30, who was their franchise left tackle for a while. And then the biggest one, their quarterback, Andrew Luck, retired out of nowhere in 2019 when he was still very young and in the prime of his career, coming off that big year with Frank Reich. So that's the perfect example of what could happen if these benefits and these benefits don't come in, and these extra games come in. You're going to have all these guys retiring early. Patrick Willis retired early. Luke Kuechly retired early. Calvin Johnson, like the list goes on and on. That's what's going to keep happening. Is that what you really want, Roger Goodell, if you're going to add all these extra games?
If I'm sitting here today and I'm trying to figure out what makes the NFL better, an extra game obviously would put more fans in the seats. It will build more more publicity for the game, and it'll bring more endorsements. There's no question. And it's all about bringing in more endorsements and more money for a league that's making millions and billions and billions of dollars. But I'm going to sit here today. If I'm a player right now, again, consistently knowing that I'm an injury prone player, am I going to sit there and say, listen, I got 2-3 years left on my career, even if we take that 18th day and 18th game and that extra game and we're bringing in more revenue. Am I making that revenue? Am I bringing in that money? Or is the owner just bringing in an extra 10, 30, 40 million dollars from that? And that's the thing. It's not for the players. That's what worries me about this. And that's why you've heard so many people speak out, ex-NFL players speak out on this, not liking this, because even playing that extra game, that extra 17th game, they were complaining about that. For over the years, there were so many injuries, so many happening injuries in the early 2000s that we've seen so many great players have to retire early because of their injuries. That would worry me if I'm an NFL player. I'm a young man who's 28 years old, who has 3 kids that are under the age of 3 and 4 years old. And by the age of 32, 33 years old, I'm walking like a 60-year-old man, and I'm never going to be able to throw a football to them. I'm never going to be able to throw a baseball or shoot a basket with them because I'm all injury prone for the rest of my life, because I was willing to take that 18th game. I was willing to put my body on the line for the 7 or 8 years of beating myself up for the 18 games a season.
We're even seeing young players retire after 2 years in the league now. Remember in 2014, the young linebacker for the 49ers named Chris Borland, who was the leading tackler in the league and retired after that season. The Ravens had one too.
That was because of CTE.
Yeah, the Ravens had one too. 100 tackles that year. I think he retired after 2 years in the league. Zach Moore, who I think is now coaching in college football somewhere. There's the guys retiring that quickly because of the effects that CTE can cause, the effects that even some of these non-contact injuries we've seen recently. And how many younger NFL players have passed away recently too? We were talking about Vontae Davis. We were talking about Demaryius Thomas, like all these younger players out of nowhere. Alex Collins was a young running back, 27 years old, who played for the Ravens and the Seahawks, just passed away last year. Like that has to be solved, and that's not going to be solved with an extra game.
All right, Fish, your opinion towards this?
With how violent the game is, you have to take into account the bye week thing that they're trying to do and add a second one. It's really one more game. Does it really make a difference, 17 or 18? It's not that much. It's still bad either way. But if you give them an extra week off with that bye week, that might be something that can rest some guys up. It might be better for them. I don't hear really anyone talking about that.
They're going to push the Super Bowl further too, which people are complaining about.
Well, they're going to have the day off now. It'll go into President's Week. So now everyone will be off that Monday and everyone will be happy.
I don't like it.
That you don't have to take off from work. I know this is the gimmicky thing that Goodell is doing. This is what Goodell does. The thing that I think Ryan Kelly was most right about was not only is it dangerous, and you're right about all the guys retiring early, you really have to love football to a sick level, really, to keep playing as much as some guys are playing now, and to some extent. Saw what happened to Andrew Luck. He just didn't love it to the point where he was going to risk his life. He saw what was happening. They weren't blocking for him. And the irony now is the Colts really did get a great line after he was gone. They really did do that with Kelly being a Pro Bowler
and
4 times.
People have asked him, would you come back now that they have a great line? He said no. No, no matter how good the line is, it's not going to change the way I felt about the game and the way the head trauma and the head injuries and the neck injuries people were getting. That's what he said when I forget who interviewed him on a podcast, and they asked him, and they said, "Would you come back now if Richardson wasn't there? Would you come back and be the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts?" And he said, "No." He said, "I retired for a reason. No matter how good the offensive line was, I just felt like my career was done at the age of 28. I didn't want to put my body in harm's way." So,
and yeah, you were saying it too, Fish. Like a lot of these younger offensive linemen as well are having to retire early because of these injuries, and the longevity for these positions are just not ideal with the circumstances. So we joke about it all the time with the MetLife Stadium turf, but how bad could it be in Indianapolis? Well, that turf, like Jim Irsay does not want to renovate that thing whatsoever, and he's caused a lot of these big name players on his team to get hurt now too.
Everyone's going to get hurt in football. It's a dangerous sport, and if you have more games, there's more chance of getting hurt. I would like to see the rosters expand. I would like to see greater money being sent, maybe more than 50-50, since it's such a dangerous sport. And now this is why football is screwed. It's because they don't have guaranteed contracts. They don't have the same things that all the other major sports do. And really the salary cap going up, shows how popular it is. What we're not talking about is another thing that Kelly said that I thought was really fascinating is, well, now there's only 2 preseason games. How are these guys going to get a chance for exposure that weren't drafted? These undrafted guys, they're, Kurt Warner, Antonio Gates, James Harrison, Victor Cruz, who made a name for themselves early on in this preseason setup that now no longer exists. Now we're going to have to go in with more draft busts being on roster and crummier football and guys not getting an opportunity that really love the game that weren't hot shots in the draft. Look what would the Giants have been without Victor Cruz?
Right. Yeah, you look at even expanding the draft too. Maybe they consider something like that as well. They used to have a 10-round draft, didn't they? A 12-round draft, something like that. And now all of a sudden it's down to 7 because of that.
There's definitely more.
Yeah,
definitely more. And Speedy, I'm sorry, Speedy, to cut you off. But Speedy, as well as I do as a Giants fan, that it wasn't the high picks. It was the guys like Soybert, right, that were bouncing around, that were low picks, that really made that team great. David Deal was our left tackle. He was a 5th round pick. It's really not always the guys that get the first shot that are the ones that are going to be your guys. Who knows? Maybe, and this is very unlikely, but maybe Josh Azudu turns it around and becomes a linchpin guy for us. Although I keep hearing he's getting dusted time after time by Brian Burns in camp. So, but
I will less optimism for him.
Well, we could do better than him, I hope.
And then, by the way, everybody's looking at this game, and it's completely dominated by Boston. This series is not over. I'm looking at what Keith is saying. Stephen A. Smith doesn't know this, and Dallas. And yes, right now Dallas is getting their butts whipped, but they're also playing in Boston. It's the first game of the first game of the series. I do not believe that this series is going to be like this, the whole series. So I know everybody wants to believe it. Obviously, Boston's kicking the living what out of them. But again, this series is going to be a long series. I still think Dallas wins at 6.
I had Boston at 6 originally, but I do think it'll be a close series. Like I'm not going to just jump the gun on this.
Didn't you say you had Dallas?
No, I didn't. I said Dallas will play it close. Now I think Dallas, if it goes to Game 7, I'm going to pick Dallas. But I think I had Boston at 6. I had Dallas in every other round before this, so not initially. Like he had it at the start of the playoffs. I had them losing to the Nuggets originally, but I had him in every round before this too. But I do think the only thing that concerns me with Dallas is their wing perimeter defense, more or less, against these Celtics wings. But I think it'll be a closer series. This is not going to be an indication of everything.
No, it's not. And I expect Dallas to play better than this. And right now, Luka Doncic is not shooting the ball very well. So if he's not shooting the ball very well, they're not going to win. It's pretty simple. He just hit a 3-point shot. But they got to defend better, obviously. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and all these guys are hitting their open shots, and that's what's happening. And Porzingis has been hot. He's been unbelievable. If he's playing at 85%, I told you it's going to be very hard to beat Boston. So, and right now he looks like he's 85%. Porzingis is walking off the court. The cameras are following him because he's been the difference maker right now in the game number 1. So
gotta be sickening as a Knicks fan.
You know, Porzingis wants this with how it ended with Doncic, in Dallas. It's something that he really wants. He hasn't had a chance to really, shake that funk from the fallout with Phil Jackson.
The broadcasting is hard here tonight.
Yeah,
I
he
just
was.
don't-
He was doing some of the
he's
ESPN
still,
stuff.
He's
so,
still
yeah.
there. He's still there. I just saw him. So, that's cool. You know what it is he's blowing up right now with their podcast. Their podcast is fantastic. I don't know if anybody's checked out that podcast. It is a great, great podcast. Him and Jalen Brunson and their interviews. And Josh Hart is he makes that podcast. It's very, very funny. It really is. So, I'm not surprised that Josh Hart's there. Are we waiting still for Let's Parlay?
Yeah, Chaz was just in, and I think he popped out. Reno Johnny said he's going to come in at any second. He has to do all his picks at once. He says, but he'll do it. So I guess whatever.
What is he coaching again?
Yeah. He's been coaching. He finished his lacrosse season, but now he's on to, I think, some spring football stuff or something like that.
What's the Yankees score right now?
The Yankees and the Twins. Josh Hill's.
It's in a delay, rain delay.
What is it?
They're in rain delay right now. They're up 8-5 though.
The game's over. What is it?
Stop
what
at
inning?
6.
Then the game is over. I mean, if the rain delay doesn't, if the game doesn't continue, the game is over, and the Yankees get the win because it's over. What is it? 5.5 innings?
Over 5 innings, yeah.
Yeah. So the Yankees would get the win and win the game. So that's good.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Standing on the best team in baseball and beating our friend Josh Hill's team.
Well, Philadelphia and the Yankees are the two best.
The Phillies are loaded. So.
Yeah, who's been playing out of their mind recently?
Yeah, they are. They're a really good team, and I'm excited to see the Dodgers and the Yankees this weekend. I really am.
I really think you should advocate for your cause of Ohtani being guilty by holding up a poster.
Why's that?
I don't know. You're the one who believes he's guilty. You're going to say, Ohtani should be suspended or something like that. I don't know.
I think he should be kicked out of baseball. Okay. The fact that baseball is not going to do anything to him, and it's ridiculous. But again, I am not the commissioner, and I am not. I'm not a spokesman, or I'm not a voice for Major League Baseball. So what do they care what I think? So.
It looks like Reno Johnny is in now. I guess
you were going to call him Rhino.
No, I wasn't.
Yes, you were.
No, I wasn't.
You were calling him
I
Rhino.
just was tongue twisting. But Chaz will come back in a bit. But he wants to do all his picks first. So
all right. So why don't you give we do this every single week for all you and all you fans out there, all you betting fans. We do this with all the great handicappers throughout the country, and you guys will like this. We have Reno Johnny who is walking around coaching or doing whatever the hell he's doing over there in Arizona, Nevada. We call this Let's Parlay.
It's time for Let's Parlay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have Reno Johnny and Mr. Chazimoto, as he always comes in, not behind his green screen or the green screen behind him. But no, why don't you use your green screen? I don't understand you, Chaz. You're off, Chaz. You're on mute or something's going on with you.
Go out and back in, Chaz.
Got that? Reno, what's up, buddy?
Yeah. A couple things. First off, in college, they used to call me Reno because where I'm from, and sometimes I get called rhinoceros, right? So, number two, Ohtani, 1,000% should absolutely be kicked out of the league. There's no way he didn't know or was involved at least a little bit, right? There's no way, but he's the face of baseball. Can't do that to him. I got a couple plays, and I will say this, bold statement coming through. I am the hottest handicapper in the world right now. In the world. I think I'm hitting 85% in the last 30 days, 75% in baseball. It's been like I should have a little printer and just print money because that's what I've been doing this last 30 days. We're up at 6 a.m. every day. We got football has started for us in Texas. That's where I'm at right now. And Texas, no, we don't have a break. We had school ended in May, about May 14th, and we gave the kids 2 weeks off. And we're in the weight room. We got football going. So we've been busy over here. Couple plays. I just cashed right now an under in the NBA first half, 110.5. Kind of played it like the All-Star game. They've been out for so long due to kind of conference. I think it was 4-0, 4-1, right? So it was real early in the conference games, and they kind of got to sit because the finals schedule's already out. No matter what happens, if it's 4, if it's 7, that's when the finals start. So I kind of play it like that. We kind of sweated there a little bit after that flurry in the first quarter. Hit that. One of the best bets in baseball, by the way, is the White Sox. That they're one of the best bets in baseball if you bet them a certain way, and that's the first 5. They just lost. I think they've lost 14. I think they're going for 15 in a row, and I think 9 or 10 of those they've either won or been tied in the first half. And typically they're getting plus a half a point, so they have been a money maker for us in the first half, and we're gonna do that again. We faded them tonight. We took the Red Sox at -1.5 due to the pitching matchup. But tomorrow, we actually like their pitching matchup with Crochet on the hill. He's one of their best prospects, and we're gonna get probably around plus a half a run, and you're gonna get plus money. The first half lines don't usually come out till the morning, so we're gonna kind of gauge that and see where we're at. If we can grab a half run at some type of plus money or near even money, we're gonna be all over that. So that would be my first play going into this segment, and then on Saturday, the Panthers. Drop the puck in their quest for their first ever title. -130, 35, game 1. We're going to be all over the Florida Panthers. Partly the way I bet the playoffs in basketball and in hockey, I kind of bet it in a future way. So I think the Panthers were going to win the Stanley Cup Finals when it started. So I've been real heavy on betting them in spots. I think that, this is a game they're going to need to win to kind of achieve that. I do think this is a game they need to win. I think they've been stronger in goal throughout the playoffs. I will say I think Skinner picked up some play over the Dallas Stars. That series, originally I thought the Stars would win. I switched it midway through and kind of bet Edmonton, but the Skinner's picked up his play in the last series. I think he kind of regresses back to a little form. So I'm going to bet them to win -135 in game 1. I'm also going to lay a little bit of juice. Not going to lay loose. I think they're going to win, but I can't lay a little bit of juice. I'm going to bet them on a series. So it's going to be kind of a longer play. It won't be settled by next week. But I think the Panthers win 4 games to 3 games. I think it's going to go 7. Panthers win 4 games to 3 games. So that's going to be my third play. And then this is the big one, right? The parlay piece. Is that?
Yes.
That's what goes on now is the parlay piece. We're going to look. Can you all still hear me?
Yes. We hear you. You're in the dark.
We're actually going to take the Orioles. Very seldom do I take the Orioles because I hate taking my favorite team and they lose and it's a double hit. However, what is going on with Cole Irvin? It's like a resurgent Cole Irvin this year. He's got a 2.84 ERA. He's been really, really good. It's a brutal stretch for the Orioles. They have the Blue Jays. They're gonna have the Rays. They're gonna have the Yankees. They have the Braves. Like all coming up back to back to back. I think this is a good game. I will say that the Orioles have kind of dominated the AL East. They've been really, really good in the AL East. Savale has good stuff, but he's actually been hit. He's actually been hit a lot more than I thought. Coming into the year, I was real high on him as a dark horse to win the Cy Young. That doesn't look like it's going to happen. He struggled. This lineup's had some good history, although minimal good history against Savale. I think that they'll win the game tomorrow and start the weekend series off with a W in the AL East matchup.
All right. Wes had some picks as well that he sent from the opening week of the CFL season. He's got the Calgary, the Stampeders -1. He's got the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Chaz's favorite, on the money line. He's got BC -5. And then the rematch of the Grey Cup, he's got the Winnipeg and Montreal first half under 24.5 for this week. Chaz is saying he's having some audio issues, so I think he's just going to text me some picks as well.
Okay. I thank y'all for having me this week. It's busy when Texas starts football, So I took a year off. I don't know if y'all knew this. I took a year off last year from varsity. I was just doing middle school. They brought me back to varsity, so I had middle school and varsity football. And that just kind of started. So it's going to be busy, but I still got to get my plays in and make some money somehow. So I'll try to hop on as much as I can. I got a break from my basketball league for a couple months, so I'll be able to pop on a little bit more for you guys.
All right, looks like we might have Chaz, and Chaz is going in the name as Who Dats.
Can you hear? You hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? I couldn't text this shit in. It's horse racing stuff. It's the Belmont, man. You guys are there. You know what it's all about.
Fair enough.
And it's in Saratoga. and it's running at the Derby distance. So who the hell knows what's happening in the world? And then we got the CFL Open tonight. That's what, I tell you, Jonathan, right now, you will move up the coaching ranks and you will get a D1 job if you start implementing some of this CFL shit into your high school program. They do crazy ass stuff up there. They really do.
The rules are different though, right? I can't. It's not the same.
Yeah, but you could see where you could take some of the ideas, the way they run things. The guys got to be moving sideways down here, but up there they can move, up and down the field. So they could be running full speed from 20 yards back and hit the line of scrimmage right at the snap. And, they're running full speed. So that you can't do down there. You'll lose your job pretty quick if you start having the kids do that.
Part of the problem is in Texas, we play in, it was 108. We had our 7-on-7 matchup that we do in the summer to get ready for the season. It was 108 2 days ago, or last week when it was still May. It's hard. We can't run a lot of complicated stuff because we won't have the players. By the time the third quarter rolls around, we need bread and butter stuff. Just run the ball up the middle.
No, think about that. Think about how much you got to lose weight, right? How much weight you lose when it's 108.
I lose weight and I'm not even playing.
Yeah, there you go.
But I got to get going, guys. I appreciate it. I'll see y'all next week or maybe on Friday.
All right. Awesome. All right, John.
Thank
you. All right, Jonathan. We'll talk soon, man.
Later.
All right, Mr. Chaz, you're going to give us your picks?
Yeah, so I'm just going to tell you because I'm going out of town, so I'm not going to see you guys for a while. So I figured I'd just come on and I'd give you what I got in case I get, when I win,
Where are you going,
it's good. If I lose,
where are you going?
Oh, I got a family wedding in Cleveland, Ohio. So we're heading to Cleveland.
How fun.
Well, I went to school in Ohio, so I spent some time in Ohio. Ohio's so okay. I like Ohio. All right, so what it is this Saturday, the 10th race at Saratoga. So they did it. They're doing the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. Well, it's a 4-day festival of racing, and they're doing it at Saratoga because Belmont's under construction. And so they can't run the 1.5 miles because Belmont has that long stretch they don't have in Saratoga. So they're going to do it for 1.25 miles. So thank God, right? We don't have a chance of a Triple Crown. Because you're talking about Pete Rose having an asterisk next to his name. Holy cow. If you win the Belmont in 1.25 miles and you win the Triple Crown, that would have sucked. So, but the 10th race is the Met Mile. Now, the Met Mile is $1 million race. It's one of the oldest races. It's one of the most prestigious races an owner could win. But it used to be on Memorial Day weekend. And it was the last time I ever talked to my dad before he died. We talked about the Met Mile. That night he died in his sleep. So it always, for me, is a very special race. And then they moved it to Belmont Week, but it's still the Met Mile, and I still put a little passion into it. I haven't gotten the forum for that race, so I don't know who I'm liking, but I figured if my dad's listening, I think he's back there, so he could probably listen to you guys because he's close to New York. But Friday there's the girl Belmont, and then Saturday's the boys Belmont. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to do some doubles, and then I'll go quick through the championship for the UFL this week and the conference championships. How much time we got?
As much as you want.
All right, here we go. So Friday, the Acorns at 3:40. It's the 12th race from Saratoga. And as you guys know, because you're in a part of the world where horse racing is still a big deal, it's a big deal. Those Friday and Saturday cards are loaded with $500,000, $400,000, $1 million races, and the best of the best horses show up. So what we're looking at in this race is the fact that these horses, the best two horses in here, just ran in the Kentucky Oaks, which is the Derby. So again, remember, the ladies have a Triple Crown just like the boys do. They just don't talk about it as much. But the number 9, Torpedo Anna, won the Oaks. Number 4, Just FYI, who's a Justify horse, came in second. So we're going to use those two. But the 6 is an outlier because the 6, Where's My Ring, 8-1, getting a jockey change. And the time that he ran at Aqueduct in the Gazelle Stakes before the Oaks was faster than the other horses. So we're going to throw them in. We're going to use a 9, 4, 6, but we're going to use those 9 and 4 later on in doubles. So what they do is they let you do a double from Friday to Saturday, which is pretty cool. If you're live, at least you got something to live for Friday night, right? You got a couple pieces in the Belmont. So the Belmont has got 5 horses that we like in the Belmont. We like the one because it just wired the Preakness in the slot. But it may rain. So it's, your guys are there, right? Is it supposed to rain tomorrow in New York?
I haven't checked, but
it's supposed to actually.
Yeah,
it was raining today. It was raining today. I don't know if it's going to rain tomorrow, but it's supposed to be beautiful this weekend.
Yeah, they made it sound like Saturday was going to be sunny. That would put this horse down a notch on my list. The number 3 is the only horse in this race. That's Mystic Dan. You know that name. He won the Derby. He's the only horse in this race who's run in 3 straight grade 1s. This is his 4th straight grade 1. Number 5 is the Wine Steward. The Wine Steward just ran faster in the Peter Pan than the others. It's kind of the same logic I'm using with that horse, the 6 in the girls' race on Friday, is that if you look at the time, it's a faster time, but it's a little less prestigious of a race, but it's so much faster than I threw a question mark around that 5. But the problem is if you like the 5, then you got to look at the, it's the 5 and the Wine Steward is the 4. Those horses ran 1-2 in this race. Even the horse that came in second, the Wine Steward, his time was faster than the other horses ran in their mile and an 8th race. So the 4 and the 5 are on my list, and the last 2 on the list are the 9, who's Sierra Leone, which is a photo finish. If you remember the race, there were 3 horses. Mm-hmm. This horse was the photo finish away from wearing roses. Otherwise, you just go back to your corral and eat hay. If the other horse is out there getting the roses, you're just eating the hay. And then the number 10, Squeak, my buddy from back east, Squeak gave me the number 10 a while back. Said this horse is going to run. It's a beast. So I guess it's a really big horse, but it was born in May, which is halfway through the year. So though it's a 3-year-old, technically it ain't a 3-year-old. It's just a 3-year-old now. So the horses that were born in February or January or March or April are all older. And of course, when you're a baby, a few months makes a big difference, right? In your development. It doesn't matter what species you are. So those are the 5 horses. If they come in 1, 2, 3, 4 in any order, I'm going to hit the superfecta. But what I'm using is the 9, Sierra Leone, and Mystic Dan, the 2 best horses in the race. So I'm basically using the 2 best horses in the 12th at Saratoga on Friday and the 2 best horses in the 12th on Saratoga on Saturday. And then I'm going to do a partial wheel. So it's if either the 9 or 4 win on Friday, and then either the 3 or the 9 win on Saturday, then I hit the daily double. So that's going to be pretty much not my weekend, but from because it's 3:30. They're 3:40. They go off at 3:40 my time. So tomorrow I may still be working. On Saturday, who knows what I'll be doing. On Saturday, I'll be getting ready for the game. Because Saturday, actually it's noon. Saturday at noon is the Birmingham game. And then Sunday at 4 o'clock is the St. Louis game. And these are, of course, the conference championships. Birmingham just played Michigan. They're playing again. St. Louis just played San Antonio. They're playing again. I think, remember, Speedy, last week I said I wasn't touching those games because they really meant nothing. They're playing again next week. I'm coming right back with the same 2 teams, Birmingham and St. Louis. I won last week because I've been betting the money line. Now I didn't. Did Wes get his picks into you?
I said them before you came on just now. He had some.
I got him. He said him in a minute.
Okay.
Right. So the reason I'm bringing that up is you remember he said many times that if you're taking the money line, it's like then you like the other team. And I'm saying I bet the money line. Remember, I came up with the name for this wagering system on this show, on Saturday show, Moneyline Mania. Because here's the thing. The line is based on human beings, right? Some human being says, I think they should be 7-point favorites, and say then Arrow goes and bets $1 million on it, and it goes up to 8-point favorites. And Petey comes back and bets $2 million on the other team. And now it goes down to 6-point favorites. Well, you know what? Basically, I've always felt the public is stupid. I just want to win the game. The only problem is the line goes down a lot. So you're getting minus 340. And that's where you got to accept the fact. And you've heard me say this about Paulo. Paulo kind of taught me that. These soccer games are really easy, but you got to be willing to drop $750 to win a Cino. And the problem with that, and we've talked about this with Paulo's plays, is you got to hit 80% or 90% to make money. Because if you lose $750 on one of his plays, and sometimes his plays lose, the ball doesn't go in the hole. It hits the post. There's a penalty shot that's missed. You know, it's hard to miss a penalty shot when you're a pro, but they do miss them. And then you've lost $750. So now you got to win 8 times $100, right, to get all that money back. That's the only downside with it. But when you parlay them, and that's what I did last week, and last week they both came down to the end, and I'm not sure you guys are popping the UFL games on your DVR to break them down later in the night.
Pop in the bubble gum. How about that?
Yeah, there you go. So what happened is the guy missed the field goals at the end. I won both games with missed field goals at the end on money lines. It was really crazy. So yeah, if you had taken the points like Wes says, you know, you would have never been in doubt. I just like betting the best team. And that's what I'm doing. I'm going with a Birmingham money line. I'm taking over in the Saturday CFL game. That's Saskatchewan. That's how far we've come. When we did Saturdays in Canada, I learned how to say Saskatchewan.
I was joking with myself earlier.
Yeah, I could never say it. And then Edmonton. And then Sunday, they're both 4 o'clock. They're both 4 o'clock starts. The UFL Conference Championship, St. Louis over San Antonio. And then the 4 o'clock, and this is 4 o'clock Pacific time because that's what I care about, because that's what I'm here. And I used to do that. I used to write down Eastern when I first started doing this stuff back in the day, and I would miss a few bets because I forgot that I don't live in Eastern. So I stopped writing down Eastern. I started writing down Pacific time. I like the over in that game too. So I like over BC Toronto. So those are my 4 bets. I got Birmingham. I'm going to use money line over Sask. St. Louis money line over BC. I will sprinkle some with the points as well, but it won't be for as much money. So that is Friday and Saturday and Sunday, right? Because I don't think I'm going to see you. I don't think I'm going to make it Saturday night either. This is my last shot. When I come back from Cleveland, I will see you again.
All right, Chaz. Thank you for joining us, buddy.
You remember, I'm live to that England-Serbia game. Remember that story?
Your accidental future
bet. I got $100 on England over Serbia.
That's the 16th, I think.
Yeah, that's the day after the wedding.
Yeah.
That's the day after the wedding, so that's funny. But we are going Friday. We're going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I've been there. It's
pretty
cool.
excited about that.
Yeah, it is cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. My wife took me to for our anniversary. We went to see Elvis. He wasn't there. But we went into his big building across the street from his house where they have all his stuff. And the dude had some stuff, as you know. But it was much cooler than I thought it was going to be. Seeing you know, the outfits that they wore and stuff. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it has a relationship with Graceland. And they swap stuff. So we got a little taste of some of the stuff from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I forget the theme. I think it was the people that were playing about the same time that Elvis was, you know, those kind of, I think that's how they did it. But so I'm looking forward to it, Petey. I'll let you know how it makes up.
Awesome. Have a great trip.
Have a great trip.
All right, always be casting, guys.
See you soon, my friend. Yep. There you go. Chaz, his picks. Reno Johnny, his picks. And we have a couple more minutes left before our show is over. I want to ask you a question, Speedy. And this is a serious question because it's starting to slide through my windpipes.
Your windpipes.
My windpipes.
Very specific.
Yes, my windpipe. Speedy, what is your favorite food to eat?
Ooh, I had to pick one food to eat. My favorite. Chocolate's a good flavor.
That is not the answer.
What is your favorite food to eat, Speedy?
I would like more glazed donuts.
You're good with the sound bites to fill the time while I think about it. I think from a more general standpoint, I would have to go with probably wings in general. For a more specific one, I do really like. There was one place right near my school that had this fusion of so many different flavors.
Fusions, huh?
Yeah,
Fusions.
it was like it's really spicy, but it combined.
You like spicy stuff.
Yeah,
we know that.
It combined a traditional buffalo. It combined a like a tender. What is it called? Like a very tender barbecue, and it combined like 4 different sauces, and it was like the best thing I ever had. It was really spicy. Probably the second spiciest wings I've ever had, but I would probably say that.
All right, so you like wings. And what is your fetish?
What do you mean fetish?
A fetish. What you've never done, but you have a fetish of doing one way or another in your lifetime.
A fetish? I don't think that's really the right word. Really, the right word to describe it.
Yes, that is. It's a big word. It's a big word for you. I'm trying to.
It's not the right context though. A fetish is something that you were like randomly obsessed with, and then you.
All right. So what is your what is your fetish? If you want to be if there's an obsession of something, what is your fetish?
Yeah, something I have not done much or haven't done at all.
I'm asking you what your fetish is. Damn it! Give me a fetish.
Who the hell is ass cheeks?
Definitely not that. That's for sure.
You have a fetish?
Again, you have to like be more specific on the context. It's something I haven't done.
Man, why does this always have to be like a story with you?
Because I think fetish is the wrong word.
Yes, it is. What is your fetish? What are you like obsessed with? Yeah, what is your fetish?
Fetish of okay. I think a lot of the things that I've mentioned.
Something you've never done. That's another question I have.
All right,
put it all together.
Yeah, there's probably like a ton of concerts I would want to.
That's stupid. That's boring. That's boring.
All right.
You're boring. That's boring.
Let me see.
What is your fetish? What do you like to do? What is your favorite thing to do? You like playing with yourself? I mean, come on. What do you like to do?
Okay, I like a ton of. You know this already. I like a ton of games. I like a ton of.
Okay, what kind of games?
Sexual games. Sexual games. Yeah, really.
Random sexual scenario.
No, you know that's not the case. So you could already eliminate those. Carl says, he's finished. Listen to Chaz pontificate. I don't even know what that means, Carl. But you're gonna save that as
that's a good word. I like that.
No, it is a good word.
That's from a principle, baby.
Pontificate. Oh boy, what do we
you
got
like to
here?
gargle things?
Gargle things.
You like to gargle things. What do you like to put in your mouth?
I don't know if gargle would be the
Men in Black memory eraser.
Fitting for that. No, I don't know. Gargle seems like something that would be used more for like mouthwash or something like that, which I'll use, but it's not really like that's not really that type of thing.
Come on, give me an answer. What do you like to gargle?
What do I like to gargle? If I were to gargle anything, that is probably
Speedy. It's got to be quick here. What is your fetish? What is your gargle? What do you like to gargle? Come on, give me some answers.
Oh God, it's that I don't have an obvious thing for either one of those.
Do you like your dog licking your ass?
Definitely not.
There you go. That's a fetish.
That's not a fetish.
That
was an accident.
Well, it's been done quite a few times to you, right?
It's been done once, and it was.
How about your dog humping you right from behind?
Again, also not something that I encourage.
Is that a fetish for you?
No, it's not something I encourage. It's something that he just forced on.
What do you like to gargle?
What do I like to gargle? So something like in my mouth like that. How about some?
Do that again.
How about this? How about this? A fizzy soda mixed with Pop Rocks. How about that? I'll try that. I'll try to gargle that.
What do you want to explode? You want your stomach to explode?
Well, no, it won't explode my stomach. It explodes in my mouth. Pop Rock. Oh, you know what I had, which I never knew existed, was Pop Rock infused Oreos. My cousins had them one time, and I was so surprised the first time I had them because I didn't really react to it. But the second time, like, oh yeah, it's Pop Rocks. Maybe I'll try that.
Okay, that's interesting.
Pop Rocks infused with a fizzy soda, like the ultimate, like explosion, like you're saying. I'll gamble on that.
Okay, your favorite taste.
What are you talking about? Like a general type of taste?
Your favorite taste?
Don't share a Poo-Tang pie with the Rock.
It's not that. Anything cheesy is generally good. Anything cheesy.
Anything cheesy. Okay, so you guys got it. So let's go over it right now. What do you like to gargle? Give us the gargling sound.
Okay. That one wasn't as good.
Okay.
My mouth's getting dry. That would have been good. My mouth's getting drier. Yes, Carl, I did try to gargle on air for all your humiliation.
Oh man. So let's get this straight, okay? What is your favorite food?
I said in general wings, and then my favorite one was the wing place near my school had a 4.
Okay. What was the second question?
Second question was about gargling.
What was your fetish?
The fetish that I still couldn't figure out because I don't really have uncomfortable type things like that.
How about a thumb in your ass?
Definitely not.
A fetish?
Definitely.
Shaving your ass?
Definitely.
Shaving your balls?
Definitely not.
It's good for both of them.
It's
No,
good
it's
for both of
not.
us. Yes, it is. We could share it if you want to share it.
I don't want to share anything that you use to shave your body.
Shave the ass, Speedy. Shave the ass.
We could do that.
No.
You could shave mine and I'll shave yours.
No.
All right. So
Never.
All right. What is your favorite carb meal?
Carb meal.
Yeah, carb meal. Yes.
Ooh. I mean, I would probably say a Alfredo, but a spicy kind of Alfredo.
You like
Alfredo.
spicy stuff, right?
Like a
How about if
spicier
we
chicken
chop some-
Alfredo type pasta.
How about if we chop some sausages in there? Would you
That's not bad.
Yeah?
Alfredo and sausage together, that's actually pretty good.
How big do you want your sausage?
Not so big as it's pasta.
All right. So thick. Do you want it thick instead of big?
No, it could be sliced.
Sliced up. Thickness is good.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that thick for pasta.
All right. So you like a thick pasta Alfredo. Okay. So we got this.
Yeah, and you could put the sausages on there. I would prefer the chicken, but it's fine.
All right. How about balls? You like any balls? What kind of balls do you like?
Swedish meatballs. I do
All
like.
right. Okay.
I do like regular meatballs as well with like brown gravy, which is kind of like the Swedish
Brown
meatballs.
gravy? Why brown gravy?
I like it. I tend to like the tenderness of the meat, like the flavor of the meat, more than the like. I don't need it doused with the red sauce all the time. I don't mind it, but like,
how thick do you like it? Do you like them big? Do you like them small?
That, again, depends on how hungry I am, type thing.
You think you could get one of those big meatballs in your mouth?
No, I'm not
gonna. No, have you ever tried it?
I'm not going to try that.
I have zero interest in putting balls into a knot.
There you go.
Perfect. That was good. That was good. Carl, I've never had that. I've never tried it like it's just a hero, not without the pasta with Alfredo sauce. That does sound kind of interesting though. I might consider.
Let's not.
No. Actually, Carl, I would consider that. Actually, you're not far off. I might have to consider that if I ever have leftover Alfredo sauce or run out of pasta. Or
So you
like that.
have meatballs. You like meatballs?
I do. No.
Okay.
Meatballs are very good. Like I said, Swedish.
How about goat
meatballs.
balls? Have you ever tried goat balls?
We're not going there.
But
We're not going there until the next time we get Chris Childs back on the show.
You know there was a delicacy, rhino balls.
Yes, we know. You
All
discussed
right.
this when we had Chris
should
Childs
try
on the
it.
show.
We should try it. We should go and try it.
No.
Why? You won't even know the difference. How would you know?
I'm not doing any involved in any of that until the next time Chris Childs is on the show.
Okay, so all right, so we got you like meatballs. That's good. All right, so all the different questions that I've asked you, right? All these good questions. Now, if you were to choose right now, all right, this is a really good question. You gotta, if there was one of those foods you can eat off a woman's body, which one would it be? It's got to be one. You got to pick one.
Probably the spicy wing because it'll dilute the other crap. Plus, it would probably burn so fast that she'd want off her body as quickly as possible.
Oh my God, you're gonna make me choke.
Self-inflicted.
It's not worth it.
Oh, does Carl want to call? Is that what I'm hearing?
Why is he calling?
He wanted to just ask for the number. I'm sending it to him right now.
Oh, what's the?
Is Carl actually gonna call?
That would be funny. I mean, here's one more question for you. There you go. You got the number. This is even better for you. Okay. Now, if you could put anything on your dog's balls, what would it be?
If I could put anything on my dog's
balls, what would you put on it? Ooh, you got to pick one.
Again, if I'm going to do that, I go.
You don't want to spice them out, so you're
all right. Well, we do have Carl now, but I will answer that question first.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna go too spicy, but I will say my dad got this this shark sauce that is actually not super spicy, but it is kind of interesting. I'm curious to see how he would react to that.
You're gonna put shark
No,
sauce on your dog's balls?
It's not made of sharks. It's a wing sauce, but it's like a medium.
So why would you put that on his balls?
To reaction.
You want to see him react with
What's
shark
the point
sauce?
of doing it otherwise?
You can lick it off.
Ew. No. I don't encourage that behavior either.
I'm not licking anyone.
All right, Carl is on the phone. Let's let him fire away.
Speedy, I don't know if I can, man. I mean, you're talking about shark teeth. I mean, come on, man.
I'm
What are
talking
we
about
doing?
a shark sauce. It's actually a custom sauce I got from my dad last year.
You want to call it a custom sauce, man? That's up to you. But go for it, sir.
I don't know. If I'm gonna just like try to spook or prank my dog like that, I'll do it like
Spook. I mean, that's a spook.
It is.
You're gonna put shark
that's a big
sauce on
spook.
his balls.
Yes,
I mean,
fish. It is a custom. I forget what the name of it was. I got it for him last year. It was at a local place.
You got what for him? A bone?
No, not my dog. Hey, the sauce, the shark tooth something was the brand name, and it was a medium.
Have you ever tried
medium
dog
tier
food?
hot
Have you
sauce.
ever tried dog food?
For my Rex Ryan now?
I'm serious. Have
No, I'm not Rex Ryan.
What kind of food have you eaten? Cat food's actually pretty
All
good.
right, I'm not Rex Ryan.
Dog treats are good.
Okay, I have not tried any labeled animal food.
Don't share a Poo-Tang pie with the
Yeah, I mean, Speedy, you're about to be, John Gruden. Knock if you're with me, man. What is going on over there?
Yeah, I'm not trying any of that, Carl. Definitely not trying any of that. Yes, fish. I think that is actually the one. I think that might be the name of it. It was something I never heard of, so it might be a custom type thing for this region. But I got it for him last year as a Father's Day gift, I believe.
Okay, what kind of melons do you like?
Right.
What kind of melons
watermelon.
No. What kind of melons do you like?
I'm naming all the melons I know.
All
in
right,
that order.
watermelon. How big do you like your watermelons?
Size doesn't really matter.
Size always matters.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Flavor matters, not size.
All right. So, what kind of flavor? do you like?
Matters.
All right. What kind of flavor?
Something that is.
You like some juicy?
Yes, juicy. Good.
Juicy's good.
Juicy. On the sweeter
How
side.
about
It doesn't
you
have to be
like
super
pits?
sweet.
You like pits?
No.
You don't like the pits.
No, I don't eat the pits.
Okay.
Yeah, those are too smelly for him, Errol.
That's true.
It's not smelly. I just don't like the taste of them. It's not worth like swallowing them.
Yeah. You like swallowing things, right?
You have to eat food.
Speedy, are you gargling over there? You're spitting. What are we doing, man?
Well, for watermelon seeds, I will spit them, and I usually, or I'll just take them out of my mouth and then just add them up. They're usually good to compost, and also the rinds of the watermelon are actually really good to compost as well. I've done that as well.
You compost them next to the shark teeth. You got a mixture there, man. Yeah.
I wish I had a shark tooth. I don't have a shark tooth.
Hey, listen, speaking of compost, I could not get through that last segment. Errol, I appreciate you talking about Speedy's fetishes because, man, I thinking about the fourth and fifth and the second and third horse. I couldn't do it.
Well, if Speedy was running in the race, you probably could.
No, I would fall off the horse probably.
Yeah, well, Speedy, there's your fetish, man. You like to dress up as a horse,
No, he likes riding
Like
horses.
the whip,
I
right?
never rode a horse since I was like 8.
How?
That's what she said, right?
That's what she did say. She did say that. Yeah. How about that? What kind of was it? A pony? Was it a horse?
It was a regular size horse.
Regular size.
Yeah. It was
Do
a normal
you like
size horse.
do you like riding him from behind or from the front?
I don't remember. I was 8 or 9, something like that. I couldn't.
So you're probably
I
behind.
couldn't analyze it that deeply at that moment in my life.
99%
Listen,
of
if
the
you
world
put
would.
any more analyzation into that than to Chaz does, that's great, man. Because, like I said, I couldn't do it.
Well, no, Chaz is actually betting the ones that actually race. This horse was not a race horse.
No, I mean, you on a racehorse, I would be
They
scared.
would never. No, don't. Yeah, nobody would ever put a kid on a racehorse.
Well, yeah, not necessarily. Half these guys are so damn small, they look like kids.
They're not kids, though. They know what to do.
Oh, you know what to do too.
No, I don't.
You don't know what to do?
I've never been a jockey.
You're the one who wants to
on a
put shark
racehorse.
sauce on your dog's
I didn't
balls.
say I wanted to. I see. You used to ask me if.
Okay.
I'm not actually gonna do it.
How about, all right, this is a really good question. If you had a chance, you got a puck or a baseball, okay? This is a really good question, all right? Which would you insurge into a person's behind? Which one and why?
The puck, because it'd probably be easier to get out.
What if you turn it, Speedy?
then it would be harder to get out. Very simple. Very simple logic that a middle schooler would know.
Yeah. You're not gonna grease up that baseball?
You could spit on it.
No, I'm not. I'm not Max Scherzer. I'm not going to try to cheat.
I'm gonna put a little Charlie Huff elbow grease on that.
Finger licking good.
No, I'm not going to lick a baseball.
Well, you can lick other things, right?
I'm not going to. Okay, sunflower seeds. I will do that.
Favorite milk?
Strawberry.
No, favorite milk. You got half a milk, whole milk. What do you like?
I
don't drink a lot of milk.
No, I don't. The one in between. I forget what it's called. 1%, I think.
1% milk. Why do you like 1% milk?
I think the whole milk is too thick. The regular one is too watery. So it's kind
too
of
watery, right?
Yeah,
too watery. So you like it thick?
I prefer it. No, in between.
Yeah, in between. It's too thick is not good for you, right?
Yeah, I don't like it as much. I'd rather just go I'd rather have heavier cream if I'm gonna do that.
Heavier cream. Yeah, I like heavier cream.
Which I'm not gonna drink as is.
Yeah. Which cookie would you dip into that milk?
Which cookie? An Oreo.
An Oreo, right? Yep. You like the white in the middle of the cookie, right? You like to lick it off.
Some people eat Oreos.
You like which one do you like? The dark or you like the white?
The dark cookies.
You like the dark part, right?
Yeah, I prefer the chocolate. Like Scoop, you could go with the GIF here, or for the soundbite. You could go with the chocolate as a better flavor one for this.
Yeah,
it's definitely a better flavor over the golden Oreos.
The golden Oreos.
That's right.
What I do
the
like
BBC cookie, right? Yeah.
What I do like, I forget the name of them. I haven't seen them in a while, but there was one with one of each type of cookie. It was a little bigger than an Oreo. Fish, to answer your question about the Vienna fingers, not as much. There was one, I forget the name. I think it started with a D, and it was one of each type of cookie. It was like a swirl design on them, and it was like an Oreo but a little bigger. And it was one.
So you like zebra cookies?
No, they weren't called zebra cookies.
So you like the zebra?
I don't remember what they were called, but yeah, I guess that's the concept. But yeah,
if you were to pick an animal to date, which one would it be?
Animal to date.
To date, yes. You got to pick an animal to date. Which one it would be?
I would probably find the coolest color of either a lizard or a salamander. And, I'm not gonna actually go hard with dating. So
Please don't go hard with any animal, Speedy.
It's gonna date a lizard.
Don't go hard with any animal, please.
I'm not going to, Carl. Don't worry. He's bringing up these scenarios like I actually would do them, which is far from the truth.
Well, you don't have to, but it's definitely something to think about. Right?
No, I'm trying not to think about it.
It sounds like if you introduce some Alfredo sauce and sausage, you might be in, man. Watch out.
It wouldn't correlate to
well, we asked him the other day. I said, how long do you like your carrots? And Speedy, what was your answer?
I said, no, you asked me what the biggest carrot I ate.
Yeah, what was the biggest carrot?
I said approximately about 5 inches.
There you go.
Good. No, that was well done, Scoops. You're on a roll.
It is evolution.
It is. It's a plant.
Yes, it is. Favorite?
It's a living thing.
Favorite pickle, quickly.
Ooh, favorite pickle.
Favorite pickle.
There was I forget the name of it. There was a spiced one I had over
You
the
like
summer.
the spicy, big, long pickles? Tickle pickle?
My youngest cousin or my aunt would
Oh,
know
you're
better.
sharing with your youngest cousin?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, we
right.
went to a
Pickle farm?
No, an
Oh, okay.
outdoor festival that
Okay.
had all this different variety of pickles at one of the tents.
Okay.
And I forget what it was, but I had
Don't get hard on this. Let's go.
I'm not getting hard on anything. But it was one that had this infusion of a little bit of a spicier thing as well. I think mixed with a certain type of vinegar, not regular vinegar.
Okay.
I forget the name of it, but that was.
I wouldn't put
one.
I wouldn't put vinegar on my pickle.
No, it wasn't straight vinegar. It was some variation of it.
Yeah. And you like them long, thick? What do you like them?
I think the ones at that particular tent were longer ones.
Yeah, you like the longer ones.
They were much better for the value at the time.
Easy to slide.
I want you to slide it right in.
Slide it right in, right?
Slide this.
Slide it in.
You like the smooth pickles or the ones that had little warts on them there, Speedy?
No, I much smooth.
He likes it smooth. I figured he did.
No,
It's good for both.
the one
It is good
yeah,
for
Carl,
both
I know
of
what
us.
you're talking about. The ones that are a little more not prickly, but
Yes.
rougher.
Yeah, you like it rough.
No, I
Can't
don't.
all be
I
can't all
prefer
be
it
winners. I got you.
No,
Yeah, no, I prefer it
we all,
smooth.
we all can't be winners, that's for sure.
How thick do you like the beef?
Again, flavor over size. Fish.
Hey,
Actually-
again, that's what she said too.
Yeah, she
All right,
did say that.
Let me bring fish in. I don't know what fish. Describe what you just asked me in the private chat. I don't know what that is.
Well, I just was wondering if you ran out of pickles, would you go to the Cornichons?
I don't know what those are, so you have to describe.
You know, the little ones?
Oh, that's what they're called? I never knew that. Okay. Yeah, I suppose.
What's your favorite corn of the cob?
There's only the Mexican one.
Oh, the Mexican one. What's that?
It has cayenne pepper flakes on it. It has lime, and it has some kind of like Mexican cheese on it.
You like the cheese?
Really good.
You like
really
the cheese.
good.
Really good. Really good. You cheese, right? Cheese is good.
Elote.
Elote.
Again, another one I forget the name of. Cotiga. Thank you, Scoops. I forget the name of
Your
Cotiga.
favorite. All right. Last question before we let you go. Okay. Here it is. Your favorite finger to itch your ass with?
Probably index finger.
He said his index finger.
99% of the world would too. No, that's not guaranteed. I can't account for that.
Oh man! See that changed everything from the Jazz picks.
Oh yeah. I mean, I thought Errol, you're gonna ask him if he likes Cornish hens next or something.
Well, that's good. I mean, we spoke about chickens, right, Speedy? Roosters, cocks. Remember?
Yeah.
You could have just said roosters. You could have stopped.
But you like cocks.
You could have roosters.
Roosters, but they're cocks. That's what
Chickens
they
and
are.
roosters. Use those terms.
You like gamecocks?
No,
Right?
that's our friend Sean Smith.
Well, yes, he is a gamecock. He's a cock, like you, and you like cocks, right?
No.
What do you like?
You like the hokey, which is castrated turkey, right? Yeah.
A what? Oh no, I never had
hokey.
that. I never had that actually.
Okie dokie. How about him?
No, hokey.
You like
I know
okie dokie?
I know what he's referring to. I never had it, like that type of turkey in that sense.
Yeah, you don't like turkeys.
I do like turkeys.
You know, turkeys make you fall asleep, right? No. You didn't know that?
I never had that issue.
No.
No.
What issue did you have? Constipation?
I don't remember every scenario of my life where I've eaten turkey.
You ever had it with Alfredo sauce?
I have not, but you did give me something to think about though, like putting instead of just with the pasta, like if I ever had a meatball sub or just meatballs on its own, I might try that.
Yeah, you do like meatballs.
I might try that, Carl.
What?
There you go.
Well, he likes the meatballs, and we all know that. And he likes the watermelons, right? The melons. You like cantaloupe?
It's good.
It's good.
Yeah, I like when it comes to fruit. I'm a much more of a berry person than I am.
Here's a really good question, and this is something that you really got to think now. It's a really good question. All right, if you were to pick a fruit to enjoy sexually, which would it be? Ooh.
Wow. It's good for both of them. No, it's not good for both.
Well, we could share it.
No, that is definitely not happening. I'll go with the strawberries.
How the hell you could have a sexual confrontation with strawberries?
Oh, I thought you meant with another person, like what fruit we'll be eating while we're doing. That's what I thought you meant.
I was waiting for Speedy to say passion fruit. Come on.
No, that I would consider that, Carl. I actually, because passion fruit, I do like the flavor of. I've never actually eaten one because they don't grow here in the U.S. Maybe they do where you are, Carl. I don't know if it's in Florida or they're imported over there, but I would consider that. If you're talking about the actual action of it, all right, that's a different question altogether. And for that I'll say a watermelon. I thought you meant like with somebody.
Well, that'll be fun. I mean, you slide right in, right, Speedy?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I want you to slide it right in.
What are you picking a watermelon for, Speedy? You got to explain that one.
Where are you going to pick the watermelon?
I don't know.
When you want to go to a watermelon farm?
I can go to a farm if I want to, sure.
Well, you don't like cocks. You just said that.
That doesn't correlate with a farm.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Cocks.
There's roosters.
There are cocks there.
I'm not going to find it in the same area as the fruit.
What if they're free ranging cocks, man?
I don't care. Most of them are wild anyway. I don't care.
Most of them are wild, anyways.
Yes, and our turkeys as well.
I love this kid.
Yeah, Speedy, don't ever try to gargle around a turkey.
I
Watch
will
out.
not gargle around a turkey.
Oh man, Carl, thank you for calling, bud.
Yeah, man.
We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, man. We'll talk to you.
Yes, Carl from Florida, Tampa. He called the show.
Yeah,
Speedy, you make my day, man. You do. Do you arouse yourself?
I don't know if that's again not the right word.
Do you arouse yourself?
I don't think so.
Not something I think about. Yeah, thank you. Number one answer. Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, Speedy. Oh man, what a show! What a show! And where is Jeff? You know, where's?
He said he didn't want to call after our guest. He wanted to watch the Boston racists he called get blown out. But meanwhile, it's the other.
They're
way around.
blowing them. Yeah, it looks like it.
So our friend Mikey C is happy.
Yeah, are you in love with one of them?
No.
I'm just Joe Mazzulla. You like him?
No.
Do you find him attractive?
Not really.
You know, who do you find attractive on the Boston Celtics? Is it Porzingis?
Maybe.
Yeah, I figured. You know,
maybe, but he's again too tall.
He's too tall. So you got to take us off. How about Drew Holiday? You know, he's you don't find him attractive. What do you don't like the locks?
Peyton Pritchard. We'll go with that.
All right, Peyton Pritchard.
If I were to pick one of them, yeah, probably.
All right, Peyton Pritchard. I'm gonna let Peyton.
Not
know
super. Yeah, you're gonna go message him like that and sound like a creep. Okay. Keith, the only thing is he would just be too tall because he's 7'3" and I'm 5'8.5", so it's not ideal. Has to be a guard. I'm gonna.
Has to be a guard.
you got to dish it, right? You got to dish
Carl,
it.
I did like the movie for.
So you need him to dish it to you. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I'm not going into details.
He's the best, man. He's the best. It is evolution. It is evolution. It is. Anyways, thank you to our very special guest, FanSided Director of Content, Josh Hill, for joining us. Thank you to Chaz. Thank you to our friend Reno Johnny for joining us. I know he's busy. He's the hottest. Yeah, he's the hottest guy, man. He's the hottest handicapper right now in the business right now. 85%. Speedy, would you ride him?
I would ride his picks. Yeah, I wouldn't ride him physically if that's what you were going at. I know that's how you were going to twist it.
That's a good bit.
That is a very good one. Very good one.
Anyways, thank you to all the fans. Thank you for keep tuning into us. Thank you for the 100. I think it's 140,000 downloads right now on Apple Podcasts. 74,000, 75,000 on Spotify. We have over 518 subscribers. Almost 200. What was it? Was it 150? No, it's 150,000 views on YouTube. So thank you to all the fans tuning in and giving us some credit for all the content we put out there for you guys, entertain you. Speedy for the entertainment for tonight. Thank you, Speedy. We'll give you the clap. You were wonderful, Speedy. You were wonderful. Are you gonna bow?
Am I gonna bow?
You want a curtsy? I think you should curtsy.
Spank it.
Spank it, Speedy.
I have no idea what that means.
You don't know what curtsy is?
No.
What do women do? You know, they give you a little.
I don't know.
You don't know what a curtsy is?
No.
How about bow? Come on, give us a bow.
As far as I can go, it's a very closed area.
He grabbed the back and he bowed.
We're in kind of a congested area here.
We are in a congested area. You like congestion?
It's fine, but it's hard for me to do a bow.
Well, if you had enough room, how would you bow?
I'll show you when we're done with the show.
I'm gonna crap myself.
Yeah, you probably are.
Anyways, thank you to the fans. Tune in next week, Tuesday. What do we have on next week?
All right, returning to the show at 8 o'clock. We've been trying to schedule him for a while. USA Today writer, we know him for baseball, but he's also doing a lot of other things now too. Steve Gardner, he'll be returned back to the show. Steve actually had a very good article too on the Caitlin Clark thing, so we could discuss with him about that.
You attracted to him?
Oh my God, I'm not getting involved with any of our guests. I already told you this.
I'm going to ask Steve if he's attracted to you.
All right, you can do that if you want. So he's on at 8 o'clock, and then at 8:30, also returning to talk some hockey with us is our friend Rob Taub, NHL.com guy.
Oh, Robbie.
And our fellow Islander fan. And he
Yes.
was taking some shots to the Rangers on Twitter as well.
Oh, thank you, Rob. And what do we got on Thursday?
Thursday, our sneakerhead will be back on. That is the only one we know for sure. 9 o'clock, Antoine Harris, former Falcons, Eagles, and Titans safety. He will be back on. And
we got to hook. We got to hook.
yes,
up
we got to
our
talk about. Yeah, we were mentioning that with Marcus Harper as well.
We'll have Harper get some nice
Yes, we will
new
mention
kicks,
that.
baby.
So
Nice new kicks.
that is the 3 guests we have. Hopefully, I can get a fourth. Our friend Lake McCree could not make it tonight. He had a workout scheduled at 7:30 out of nowhere, and he didn't know how long that was.
Favorite foot size?
I don't know.
Favorite foot size?
I'll just say 8. I don't know.
Why 8?
I have no idea.
8.
I don't analyze foot sizes.
Barely had any hair on.
Yes. Very good. Chaz he's not going to be here for 2 weeks, Carl.
Okay.
He's going away. He
He's
mentioned
going
that.
away.
He's going away.
He's going away. He's going away to your house.
No.
All right.
You pay attention. He's going to Ohio.
No.
You're the king of wishful thinking.
That is also true, but I don't think that song is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Anyways, yeah, thank you to all the fans. We'll be back on Tuesday. Listen to the Weekend Crunch on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. on 103.9 FM out here on Long Island, LI News Radio. If you don't live out here, all you got to do, ladies and gentlemen, is go to iHeartRadio. You can check us out, LI News Radio, and download us, subscribe to us on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, The Sports Loudmouth. Anyways, thank you to Fish for all your graphics and the content you give us every single week. You're fantastic. Yeah, Tommy for your sports minute and giving us all the drops.
It's good for both of us.
It is good for both of us. Speedy, is it good for you?
Yes, it is. All his sports.
But you just said it's not good for both of us.
Not the other scenarios.
No, but-
The sports minutes could be.
But what the other stuff? We couldn't share a watermelon together?
No, you
Why?
can eat your own watermelon.
Oh, well, we could share it.
No,
Sharing is caring.
All right, we can take slices from the same watermelon.
Okay, we could
If
take
it means that
slices.
much to you.
We could share, we could
You don't
slide
have-
it right in.
You don't need to put your saliva on the same one as mine, and vice versa.
I want you to slide it right in.
I want you to slide it.
Not happening.
Okay. Anyways, that's it. We'll be back next week. Good night, everybody.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.